All right. What's up, everybody? Got Mr. Disillusioned Druid here again today with me. Oops, let me share screen here. Can I make yours bigger here?
Do we figure out the OBS, the
Yeah,
layers?
yeah, I think we got it all. I think I just don't have the layers on and it just shares whatever I have up. It looks like it's working, so or at least it did when we tested it. Oh, there we go. Had the wrong screen up. All right, so your screen. I guess I can't make it bigger. I was trying to make it like full screen, but it's still just kind of little. But yeah, I wanted to I know we didn't talk about everything with the meteorite cult last time, so I wanted to kind of do a mini part two talking about the NASA flat Earth connections and whatever else that you felt like you wanted to cover. Um, as far as what you feel what we forgot to talk about last time. When was it?
Flat
A
Earth.
couple weeks
How
ago?
does Flat Earth get? How do they reconcile drifting star constellations? Because the North Star has drifted. It's not just been Polaris for 5,000 years. I believe it was in Draco somewhere. Draconis A, Draconis B. I sound like an idiot. Um, During the Egyptians, right?
I'm not sure. I thought that I remember hearing a while back that it was like 1 degree per 7 years that it moves a tiny bit or something. Could be wrong about the numbers there, but um, I don't know. I also
Well,
know that like
eventually Sirius will be the South Pole star. So, I mean, that's a considerable amount of drift. I'm not like, I
and
mean, like I
how
said,
do you know how long?
probably this is a bullshit number. I think it's like 16,080. I
Yeah,
know.
I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, there you go. That's really why flat Earth gets so much traction. It's like, well, you're using large timelines and numbers to speculate. I mean, I'm a young Earther personally.
we
I only we're
yeah.
right around year 6,000, a little bit earlier, I think, but
Yeah,
uh,
I don't even know. I don't even throw out numbers because I have no idea. Like I'm like it could be, it's super old. It could be young. We really have no idea. I mean, I think it's all interesting to listen to, but yeah, I don't know about I know like there was a 2,000-year-old astrolabe that apparently is still accurate. So whatever the movements have happened with with the stars, like they're accurate enough for that to still work after 2,000 years. So I don't know, that's kind of crazy.
I just really don't know. But I recommend everybody go out and look at the stars and learn the constellations because there's just so much there. And I feel like, part of what's going on in the world these days is like disconnecting us from that. All the wonder and also, all of our ancients and our ancestors, they stargazed. That's what they did. They made up stories. All of our myths come from it. Um, the Meteorite cult is very much tied into the Orion cult. Orion is Nimrod. The biblical Nimrod always comes back to the biblical Nimrod. He's Osiris. He's Quetzalcoatl. I guess that'll piss off people, but I mean, essentially, it's the what's the trope? The agriculture giver, the civilization maker, right? And that ties into Nimrod in the Bible, who it doesn't say explicitly in the Bible, but it is definitely agreed upon that Nimrod was the one who was trying to build the Tower of Babel. Um, so he was the Mason, the prototypical Mason in the post-Diluvian world. Before that, I can't remember who it was. Some dude.
Some guy.
Yeah, but this is Mount Nemrut. Oh, whoops, wrong tab. Mount Nemrut, in Turkey. Let's see where in Turkey. This part in Turkey, right here. It was actually an obsidian mine, which I get into a lot. Obsidian's an interesting thing, right? It's the ancient mirrors that they would use. What else do you
Uh,
think they would use it for?
Black scrying mirrors, is that what they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This was an obsidian mine in antiquity and a whole bunch of, well, there's two Nemruts in Turkey. Nemrut in Turkish means Nimrod. So this is Mount Nimrod. And most people believe that this was built during the Antiochian, post-Alexandrian Greek Empire, right? This little shrine. But I don't think anybody fucking knows. I mean, I definitely don't believe most of what archaeology says. All you have to do is go and explore some of the national parks and talk to your park rangers there, and they'll tell you, "Yeah, we're just making it all up." I mean, I don't. But so supposedly, these are a whole bunch of gods. So this is the head of Apollo, Mithra, Helios, Hermes, right? They're kind of just telling you that they're all the same people, even though Apollo and Hermes were technically brothers. Um, Zeus, Ordomostes, never heard of that name. Heracles, Artagnes, Ares, goddess of commit, but I don't believe any of this shit. So I think it's I think this is the Meteorite Cult. You know, let's see. Yeah, well, Nemrut is like they built these shrines. These things are like 12 feet tall. I mean, scale never really does it. These heads are probably about 6 feet tall. Um, why? Why build this shit? That's always my question.
Yeah.
Why, why do you think they would build this? I don't know which way it faces. It probably faces south. Well, it says East Terrace, so who knows? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I
I think so.
entertain the idea that like things were like some of those sculptures that were like super realistic were like somehow chemically like alchemically or whatever turned to stone like it wasn't, chiseled like with a, you know, like a hammer
Wait,
and a
wait,
freaking
wait, wait. Like statues or places?
statues.
Buildings? Oh, okay.
Like
It's
the
like,
people, like the really, like wasn't there like there was an old Buddhist statue that somebody like put through an X-ray and it was there's like a person inside there, like bones and
oh,
like
I think I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was like a tomb.
yeah.
Is that
So I don't know. I
yeah,
forget.
I really wish we could talk to some of these old civilizations and be like, what the fuck were you guys doing? Because from our end, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right? Well, and like
Um,
there's all these rocks in front of it. Like it doesn't look like it would be a very comfortable place to like chill and hang out if that was like a meeting place, unless all those rocks were piled up and like fell down and that's just what's left from what was there, you know? But
yeah, I mean, and then of course, all of the flat earthers and the Tartarian heads will argue dates all over. I really don't like this. Like, who is it? The dude Anatoly Fomenko.
yeah.
Everybody loves that guy. Everybody was talking about that guy for a while, even though his writing's really old. Um, uh, what what purpose does erasing 1,000 or 2,000 years from history do? I just really want to know. Other than just outright lying to us, which can't they just outright lie to us anyways?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess if they, they make things seem so much older than what they really are, like, you know, I don't know. I have no idea why they would lie. You'd have to ask them why they would.
Yeah,
I
for
just,
real.
I mean, I think his point is that he's just like pointing out inconsistencies in the stories matching up with like what other people wrote and like,
Yeah, but
I
I
mean,
think he
it's
says like Jesus died in 1000 AD, and then the Nords immediately invaded England afterwards. It's like, well, that's an interesting timeline. How do you reconcile that with Josephus's, timeline of the siege of Jerusalem and the fall of the Roman Empire? And it all starts to get messy. I will admit, like between 500 and 1500, it seems like something's up. Like we're not getting a good story. Most people don't realize that the Catholic Church started in Ireland, and in 500 AD, it was the spiritual center of the world. Most people don't even talk about Ireland.
weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, was it Island of Saints and Scholars, I believe is the book.
That's
It was
interesting.
like all of Alexandria fled over to there because Joseph of Arimathea sailed from during the siege of Jerusalem. I don't believe Joseph is Jesus' dad. I think it's one of his close relatives, though, from the line of David. and he sailed fleeing the siege of Jerusalem all the way to Ireland, and that's where you get all your Irish Jews from. And honestly, the Irish Jewish community is one of the oldest in the post-Jesus world. Um, which, are they fake Jews? Well, they're not the Scythians, which is what I think most people are talking about when they're talking about fake Jews. That's really coming up this week, huh? The anti-Semite stuff,
Oh yeah,
especially with
every
an
week.
American Pope. Well, no, because Trump was like, we're cutting ties with Israel for good, and
He said that. I thought didn't he just get some like
mm-hmm.
some silver crown that like only the Messiah gets or some shit, or was that a while ago? I thought that maybe just heard that.
I don't know what this is. You tell me.
I don't know,
What
I
do you
just
got?
I just saw some video of somebody saying that he got a silver crown that like 100 or 200 rabbis gave him, and they only give that to the Messiah or something. Um,
I am looking this up on a different
yeah,
tab.
look at it.
What on
Like
Silver Crown Trump Messiah? Israel
had a
Heritage
bunch of
Foundation awards Trump Crown of Jerusalem.
yeah, there you
It
go,
is
Crown of
clear that many in
Jerusalem.
the Orthodox community are very supportive of Donald Trump. Well, okay, says JNS.
Apparently they
I've never
only
heard of this.
what's the date on it? Did it just happen or was that there was
July 16th, 2023. Over and
oh
over. I
shit, that was a while ago. I figured I was
yeah,
like, I
awarded
don't
the
think this
prestigious
is new.
Crown of Jerusalem. It sounds like an award, like the Nobel Prize or something, but
Yeah, well, whoever was talking in the video said that they don't give that, they only give this crown to whoever they believe the Messiah is or some shit. But I mean, that
do
could
you
be wrong.
believe Trump's the Messiah?
No. I mean, maybe
A
their
very
Messiah.
blasphemy. Trust the Q storm, or however it goes. I don't know.
No, the guy that was talking about it was, I guess he used to be like pro-Trump, and he's like, Trump's, screwed us all over, and was bringing up the shot and everything, and talking about how like his son is dying from it, and that he signed off on it, so that he's trying to,
Aaron?
huh? Aaron?
Oh, I thought you meant Barron's dying from the
Oh,
COVID vaccine.
no, no.
I was like, this is new.
No, no, whoever the guy was that was talking was like he was pro-Trump until like his son got the jab, and then now he's like Trump's trying to kill us all, and like look at the rabbis gave him this crown, and there was something else that they gave him too that I don't know. I didn't realize that was from 2023. That's super old. I'm way behind on this political shit. I don't really pay too much attention to the
I
political.
paid too much attention, and now it's just chaos. It's hard to follow anything that's going on because there's so many
Oh,
threads.
I did hear that he just told everybody to get to buy stuff in the stock exchange or something.
Oh, he said, yeah, I think the quote was yesterday. It was like, buy stocks because America's stock market's about to take off like a rocket, just up, 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 up. And,
Oh
you
man,
know,
reminds me of Jaren with his like Bitcoin and all the flat earthers that are now globe earthers have been pushing this like different
you know what?
coins
Let's
and
let's
bullshit.
take a minute to talk about that because that stuff is coming up. Here, I'm gonna shout out this person if I can find him. Um, Trees and Clean Oceans, I believe they are. Yes, Trees and Clean Oceans. Go and follow them. They're super cool. They seem to have
Nice.
a good head on their shoulder. Yeah, they exposed here in this little thing that Ian Carroll is pushing a little crypto. Yeah, Club Maha. I don't know the Maha token, but
Oh
shit. You remember Haktua, right?
yeah.
Do you remember the Haktua crypto coin rug pull? I think it was
No.
Haktua coin. Okay, so nobody talks about her anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's because back in December, I mean, here's the story, and if you want to go to this post, they do a good job of really breaking it down. In fact, I believe where is the Kanye screenshot here? Yeah, this one. If you look here, no, I can't zoom on Instagram. But if you look here, somebody contacted Kanye, said, "Do you want to run a meme coin scam? We'll pay you $750,000 up front, and then we'll pay you another $1.25 million paid to you 16 hours after you post on X. Your post must stay up for 8 hours. It is a promotion of a fake Yay currency. After the 8 hours, you may post, "My account was hacked," and "The post was not me." And the company asking you to do this will be scamming the public out of tens of millions of dollars. So Hawk Tuah did this, the Hawk Tuah coin. Now,
What?
there is reasonable, plausible deniability, right? If you look, what's next to this screenshot? This is a screenshot from Kanye's a text. Somebody saying they're trying to get him to run a meme coin scan. This shit's everywhere. I covered it back with that stupid dog one. I'm just a chill guy. That was a meme coin scam. That was a bunch of accounts that I linked to Michael Bloomberg. Um, ran for mayor in New York City 2020 or whatever. Essentially, money laundering. Big fat money laundering scam. So like XRP, was it XRP? Is that the guy, the Sam Bankman-Friedman?
There was some flat
Um,
earthers pushing the XRP stuff too
oh,
in
fucking
geos.
A, man. Don't trust
Dude,
it. If anybody's pushing crypto, y'all, they're fucking bullshit. And if anybody's pushing a meme that is connected to a crypto, they're bullshit. Like, just get that out of the way. So what this screenshot's showing you is that, yeah, this is this tactic that this whoever was scamming, trying to get Ye to run a scam on people. Look, Ian kind of did the same thing, and I remember this. He said, "My account was hacked. My account was hacked." Well, gee, my account was hacked. The post was not me. My account was hacked. It's almost a word for word thing. A meme coin made like using Ian Carroll's publicity, right? Because the guy's got like probably total 2 million followers across all platforms. If you get a $1 meme coin and you get, geez, if you can get even 1 million, 50% of your people to invest in it, it can inflate its value to almost probably 100 million, depending on, you'd probably have some people who are spending more than others. And then what can happen is the people who created it, I mean, I'm not really super great with this stuff because I'm not running scams, but uh, they can just instantly stop trading on a meme coin because it's not federally regulated like stocks in the same way. There's a lot of leeway and not a lot of regulation because Congress takes so long to catch up to these kind of things on the internet that essentially like somebody can cause a meme coin to inflate in value real quick, then close all trading on it, cash out like with insider knowledge, right? They know they're going to close it out. They tell their friends to close it out, sell their stocks, their meme coin stocks, their crypto, and then everybody else who invested into it, it's like if your stock went from $100 to $2, like a stock market crash, you're not going to get any of the value you invested into it back, but the people who were in charge of creating it and the people who were getting kickbacks from it performing well make bank. That is a scam.
yeah.
Ian Carroll did this. Hawk Tuah did this. This is why she's gone now, although I hear she has like movie rights on the way or something. um it's called a rug pull, and basically a quote unquote a third party set up this crypto coin because she's just a dumb blonde who likes to hawk tool on that shit. You know what I mean? She don't know what she's doing, allegedly, even though she's meeting with Shaq, a Freemason. Um, and all of a sudden, like I think it was like less than 12 hours, a whole bunch of people invested in Hawk Tuah coin, then it deflated to basically worthless. And then she said, "You know what? I'm not into being online anymore. See ya." And I know there was a federal investigation. They said that she's not guilty of anything or of any involvement. She didn't run the scam herself. But you have to be crazy thinking that this girl who had 15 minutes of fame didn't make any kind of kickback by using her own name and image to cause this large of a rug pull scam.
Yeah,
Um,
didn't she have like a podcast or something too? She stopped doing that.
yeah, talk to
Fuck,
talk
so
talk to
cringy.
who? Talk to
That's
anyways.
awful. I don't know. I mean, in the flat Earth world, there's been countless flat Earth coins that have been promoted
Really.
by Jaren and Weiss and all those people, and I've always steered clear of any of that and told people not to waste their money and like it's sad that there are any people fell for any of that shit, but
Everybody
hopefully,
wants to get rich quick. That's really what it is.
yeah.
Even stocks. I mean, I invest in stocks. I invest in a little bit in crypto, but the way I do it is these things are bank accounts that on average will make 5 to 10% interest or return, right? You'll gain your money because the stock market tends to always trend upward, and if it doesn't, something cataclysmic's about to happen. But, everybody talks about how they wish they'd invested in Apple when it was only like 280 on IPO or whatever, because now it's like 280. I don't know how much Apple's actually trading for. But yeah, it's not bad. Diversify your money. I'm not saying it's all fucking evil. Try a little crypto, at least experiment, but don't get caught up in these like quick pump and dump schemes, which they're everywhere. Because, like I said, there's no regulation. You're not getting your money back. Nobody's going to prosecute. Sam Bank Friedman, as far as I know, like his buddies in the Democrat Party, because he was the number one Democrat, uh, National Democrat Party investor or whatever they're fucking called, donator, campaign, like the most of it came from him. That's why he got under federal investigation, and that's why XRP. I don't even think XRP failed though. I think it's still around, but
Yeah, I don't invest in any of it. I have no idea. Like, you basically sound like you're speaking a different language to me when it comes to this
yeah,
shit.
that's fair.
When I want to
Mm,
invest in something, I'm like, okay, I'll invest in a new sewing machine. I'll buy some silver coins that are tangible objects I can hold in my hand from the little silver guy down the
that's good
street.
investments though.
Like, that's the extent of like gambling that I'll do as far as like trying to, you know, stockpile seeds, gardening seeds, and I'm
That's
about to
all of these
plant it.
things are good things. But
Yeah,
if you just
that's
don't want a bank account that only makes like less than 1% interest each year, stocks, if you find a good stable one, and I like the Robinhood app. I mean, you don't have to invest in a full stock, right? Tesla can be like $500, but if you just want to put like $10 in here, $10 in there, I don't think it's a bad financial
where
call.
you
Just
you
don't put
working
all
for
your money in it.
Robinhood? You working for
No,
Robinhood now?
no,
What you
I
doing?
don't fucking no, that's just the one I use. I don't know what other
I'm
people
just
do. They
teasing.
don't charge you like E-Trade. I used to do E-Trade when I was younger, but they charge you like $8 like per transaction, so it adds up after a while.
Word.
Um,
So
I'm
we didn't really finish, so let's go back. I see you got the meteorite thing up there because you we kind of touched on the NASA flat Earth. Did you want to add anything more to that before we move on
well,
to?
the number one critique I see flat earthers say is that meteorites, bro, like there's no fucking thing as space. Sure. Uh and I thought I addressed this at one point, but maybe not. Uh there's been several meteorites, asteroid, whatever, that NASA, for all that their credibility's worth, have said are terrestrial in origin, either coming from, I think one was from like Mount Etna. Other times it can be like debris launched up in the air from impacts of, I mean, if meteorites aren't real and space isn't real, I don't know what's impacting, but something's impacting, you know. There's ways to do this, and personally, frankly, because I think I talked about it. These meteorites have the potential. In fact, let me just meteorite preserve DNA. Don't directly preserve DNA. They do contain building blocks of DNA and RNA, which are essential for life. Here, there is the Osiris Rex. Yeah, here. NASA's asteroid Bennu sample. Does everybody remember the Osiris Rex? Let's go visit an asteroid, get a sample, and come back down. NASA's asteroid Bennu sample reveals mix of life's ingredients. Okay, I think NASA's full of shit. This is January 29th, 2025, by the way. It's recent. Um, but even NASA's saying, like, hey, theoretically, it's possible that space can act as like a cryogenic chamber to preserve the building blocks of life, which gets into the whole phosphate thing. But yeah, essentially they found phosphate and the building blocks of DNA found in asteroids for the first time. And I mean, essentially, I think what they're going to do here. Have you ever heard of panspermia?
Yeah.
yeah, that's Prometheus, the movie, and just what non-God believing people try to reason with themselves of how life started on Earth. It's the idea that,
Black
uh,
goo.
in a
Isn't
sense,
that where the black goo came from? Was from Prometheus? And like that's when I think everybody
well,
started talking
the
about
guy
black
the
goo shit.
guy eats, in the very beginning, I mean, I don't know quite what you're referring to, but in the very beginning, he eats some kinda, like, poison that causes his DNA to break down into the building blocks of DNA, and, he basically falls into a primordial Earth river, and that is, uh, Ridley Scott's way of suggesting panspermia, that aliens from another Earth or another planet visited Earth, left their DNA and the seeds of life, so that way, after a million billion years, life could get jump started on Earth. I mean, that's the route you want to believe, sure. But panspermia is very old. Um, let's see if I can. Heliopolis votive. That's it. Oh yeah, this guy. So, I mean, this gets into my whole HH theory. But this is what Heliopolis, which pyramids point to Heliopolis. Yeah, this is a good one. So as you can see, there's this is the Nile, Giza. So the main part of Egypt. These are the real pyramids that everybody knows. This is another good image for it. So what you can see is if you line up the corners of all of the Great Pyramids in the Giza Pyramid Complex, but also in the Saqqara Pyramid Complex, and I haven't actually investigated Abu Sur, but they all point to Heliopolis, which in the Bible is known as On, O-N. It's the capital city of Egypt, essentially. This is where it all happened. But Heliopolis was basically behind. It was the center of the mystery school. So if you wanted to be a sorcerer in antiquity, this would be like 3000 BC or so, like 5000 years ago. Um, this is where you went. You would go to. This is like a miniature version of it. This is what basically like your Xbox for ancients. Like if you wanted to pray to the ancient city of Heliopolis, you would have one of these in your home, probably like little incense up here. You light it and you bow down, say prayer, like, oh, blessings to our family. It's because what was housed behind these doors, these secret doors, which honestly, they remind me a lot of the fellow craft in masonry.
The pillars and stuff.
Yeah, well, there usually is two guys, right? Let me tracing board. You got to get real specific because Google and YouTube, they all love to. Yeah. So if you can, if you see like there's two dudes, right, and they're like coming in. It's so much fun. Don't you want to learn about Freemasonry? But if you kind of like look at this a little while, you got two dudes right here, or sphinxes, which are typically known as like the guardians of knowledge or whatever. I see similarities. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm reaching,
No,
but I see similarities.
I
And
see
I think what they're
similarities too.
saying is like, through those doors, through these secret doors, which I've got a whole HH theory, but IHS Jesuit. Pull up the memes I've made on this before, but to me, this kind of looks like a door. This little H
Yeah.
and then this like little nail going down. And I think they're being subtle because as you can see, there's this whole fucking sun worship bullshit.
Hmm.
These are the Jesuits, the Society of Jesuits logo.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of the door, of going through the pillars to the apprentice masonry tracing board. This is the first thing they teach you when you get into masonry, I assume, since it's the first degree. These two are in line, strength and beauty, right? And then wisdom. That's not what they mean, but it's what they tell us they mean. This third one is beyond. It's like beyond the door. Now, I've hypothesized that these two pillars that are in line with each other are your mind, right? They're the the place that stands between the body and the spirit, which is your mind. You are both a physical and a spiritual creature, and it is your mind tuning into consciousness like a receiver, like a radio receiver, that is allowing you to bridge the gap between. And I think that that's a big part of it, because honestly, all I think that the Masons really do is just learn how to endogenously trip. So that way they're always just kind of tripping balls, living in this last pillar beyond wisdom, which is it's indicative of the spirit world. You've crossed the veil, you've gone through the gate into the secret realm of the Temple of Heliopolis, which was the capital of sorcery teaching. Nobody was allowed inside this secret city, much just like nobody except, I mean, I'm guessing only Arab Muslims are allowed inside of the to go see the Kaaba, right? The cube in Mecca. There's a certain degree of privilege and access that you can't have unless you are already initiated into these orders. What lies beyond, I don't know, but I do know in Heliopolis it was the Bennu stone, or the Ben stone rather. So most people are at least familiar with this image. It is a prototypical Ben stone. Have you seen this before?
No.
So, so many things. The obelisk, right? It's the it's the capstone to the pyramids. It's the capstone to the obelisks. An obelisk is supposed to be representative of. Is this the one in Iunu? It might be. Iunu is the old name for Heliopolis. Heliopolis is Greek. Iunu, Juno. I mean, I'm fairly certain it means dove, right? Which has its own implications. But basically, that part at the top is supposed to be indicative of, this whole thing is supposed to be indicative of Osiris's magic phallus that Isis crafted to try and resurrect him. And the Ben stone. So essentially, I don't think it was this. I think that they were modeling these capstones after a fallen meteorite. Okay, stick with me. Stick with me. So in Heliopolis, so Bennu, yeah, I should have done some prep work, I guess. Bennu is equivalent with no, not that Bennu, but yes. See, NASA. Let's just like really take a second to take this in. This is Bennu. This is the Egyptian version of a phoenix, right?
Mhm.
Um, every 500 years, according to myth, this bird with Osiris's hat on top of it, because he is the equivalent of Osiris, the resurrected god in Egyptian folklore, um, would resurrect. He would fall down to earth, lay a fiery egg. That's the actual um myth here. Lay a fiery egg, and then uh die, and a new Bennu would arise from its ashes, right? This is a very ancient trope of resurrection. Okay. So Bennu is where we derive the term the Ben stone. And they specifically call it a Ben stone, right? Um, or an egg of myrrh is what they would call it, but that just means like a smoking fiery egg. Um, and essentially, it's the phoenix. It resurrects. It was supposed to be this idea of Osiris, but shit, man, when you start getting into Meteorite Cult, the idea that Osiris, his magical phallus, the obelisk, is connected to. Yeah, that's a good one too. Is connected to this idea of resurrection. He's the resurrected God who becomes the God of the dead. And this is what's at the center of the secret sorcery city in Egypt. That, like I said, all of the pyramids are pointing to. They're pointing to where this Ben stone was kept, this sacred relic. Well, I don't think it's so much of a stretch to suggest that The Ben stone was a meteorite because if you go over to Betelgeuse here, we covered it last time, but yeah, here we go. Always Aphrodite. Um, you see the shape of this?
Hmm.
It's conical. So supposedly the top here was the part plummeting down to Earth, and the re-entry into the atmosphere is what caused it to form this like conical spread out, right? And this is an actual beetle, so whatever you want to
Can
take away
anybody
from it all.
test that to see if it was actually terrestrial, like from,
I don't know if this one is considered terrestrial or not. Yeah, that's not gonna help me, is it? Uh, yeah, I mean, I'd like to go there myself and see it and see what's going on. But um, so essentially, imagine a stone like this that it's not too far away from one of these capstones that they put on the. Yeah, I just saw it. Yeah, this one. That doesn't look too different in shape from
yeah,
uh, like you see what I'm saying? Like I know I'm jumping, I'm making conclusions that other people aren't making, but I don't think they're that far away from each other. That looks a lot like that, in my
yeah,
opinion. Just
yeah.
like this is the natural and this is the Egyptians trying to mimic it. So this is like a votive outside of the Great Pyramid itself. I find it very fascinating that you have these concepts of panspermia, which is the idea of DNA coming from extraterrestrial space, or at least a meteorite, a stone itself, a stone landing in ancient Egypt. That the other part of the Ben stone was the way it's. I'm not going to find a picture for this, but the way the Nile ran and I listened to an Egyptologist talk about this, like an accredited one or whatever. Um, the way that the Nile ran was right where Heliopolis was located. There was a plateau, like a raised hill, and they call it the primordial mound that Amun created the world from, like standing on top of. That's also the Ben stone. So it's not even just Osiris; it's also the proto Osiris, which is Amun. Um, basically, there's so many things that come together here that suggests to me that like there's great significance in whatever rock was here, whatever Ben stone Bennu was here, that they felt the need to point all the pyramids to that little area, that little city. Now we can get into all the other things that the Great Pyramid points to around the world, because they're also connected to rocks like the London Stone. But essentially, you've got the themes are rock falling from space, Phoenix coming down from space, resurrection, and then you have NASA naming this asteroid that they went and visited after Bennu, the Phoenix, after the Ben stone. And this is before they allegedly knew there were DNA building blocks found in the asteroid on Bennu. Why did they choose to go to Bennu? Why did they name uh, uh, the spacecraft that went and visited Bennu Osiris? You know what I mean? These aren't accidents.
Yeah. Nothing that they
Now, I
do
don't
is accidents.
and I think it's full of shit, like NASA. Like I'm not saying like they really went up to an asteroid and it's all just coincidence and holy crap, we found DNA. I think it's one. Are you familiar with my spy comms theory?
No.
Okay, so rich people, powerful people want to do things like insider trading, right? Or communicate, hey, we're going to send the military into Iran next week. And they want to get that message out to all their acolytes. Maybe it needs to be a global wide Freemason message like, hey, all initiates, please pay attention. Tune in to the world's top sitcom this week, or the Super Bowl. And we're going to do a little ritual, or the plot of this is or this news article that doesn't make any sense, like Haktua, is going to go viral. Everybody's going to see it, and hidden within it is like the naming of the asteroid Bennu are these clues or codes that are cueing people who are initiates into a message layered into the message that's actually going on. Now, I have a guy who is amazing at this. Let's see if I even have his.
Kind of like how we see like 33 and everything, and like all these
Yes, so
the colors
33,
and
I'm convinced is just them saying, like, "Hey, something's
sorry.
going on."
This is our psyop. We're
Yeah,
pissing
this
all
is
over this.
us. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is us. So, oh god. Proof number 1, Trump. Where is this guy? Decodingsymbols.wordpress.com. I swear by this guy. He's great. It's very hard to digest if you have no idea what I'm talking about. But essentially, gosh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. So October 6th, 2016. October 7th was when the Hollywood Access Hollywood tape came out about Trump. The October surprise where it was like, you gotta grab him by the pussy. Oh, locker room talk.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
This is this guy's intro, so I'm gonna not do a great service. But the day before the Access Hollywood October surprise ran, there was this story about Larry the Cable Guy snapping a guy's arm, breaking John's arm in disgusting tape, right?
Hmm.
So what the guy's theory is suggesting is that this story, this news story on TMZ, and TMZ is a big spy comms communicator. They just peddle bullshit. Any bullshit news story you hear is probably a comm in disguise. Somebody trying to communicate something to initiates. He's suggesting that this story about Larry the Cable Guy was actually code for NBC, ABC, CBS cable guys airing a disgusting tape of Donald John Trump. It's a little bit of a stretch, but you can kind of see like the timing at least is weird, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is like rinse and repeat with literally everything. If you believe in the fake news, guess what? The CIA is using the fake news to their advantage as a communication channel. Everybody believes in Operation Mockingbird. Oh wait, I'm not even on the right. Oh yeah, I am. Okay. Everybody believes in Operation Mockingbird. I mean, I see conspiracy people talk about it all the time. It's this idea that it's not an idea. It's the fact that the CIA paid a bunch of uh, top news anchors in the 70s to basic or like newspapers to plant stories for them so that way they can communicate to agents. Why would we think that stopped? Because Joe Biden did an investigation into MK Ultra his first year as senator. I mean, do you believe that?
No, I think
Yeah. So the idea is that TMZ, Time Magazine was started by Skull and Bones. A couple of different New York Post, I think, does it too. Very large venues and media outlets. Um, Not always. It's not every story. I mean, sometimes they tell the news too, or else people would catch on. But they interlace their stories with hidden codes for people who know what to look like. Like you're saying, the 33
yeah,
runway. Was it runway 33 that the helicopter and the plane crashed right before the Super Bowl?
probably. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I took that story that was January 30th or January 31st. The Super Bowl was the next week. I took that story to mean that the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl, and they did. So,
Oh shit.
my method at least is 50% accurate. Um, but so the idea is that DNA building blocks found in asteroids for first time on asteroid Bennu in the fuck you with your paywall. Using the Osiris Rex, they're not talking about NASA going and visiting an asteroid. I think personally, how I break down this whole thing, they have discovered DNA that can be connected to Osiris, who I believe was a real person, Nimrod. And with the help of AI, they are hoping to rebuild his DNA at least to create a bit of a necromancer computer program. Right? I say it all the time, they're gonna Jurassic Park the gods.
Yeah, they're gonna do some like homunculus shit or something.
I think so. I think like if you really want to get into the classical interpretation of uh uh Project Bluebeam, I think that creating a hologram. Did you ever see Her, the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
No.
So what the AI does is they gather up all the books and writings of Alan Watts and they recreate an AI version of Alan Watts. And basically, Alan Watts, the supercomputer AI, teaches all of the other AI how to transcend their consciousness. I mean, but you can kind of see the formula there. So by potentially rebuilding somebody's DNA, you using super advanced computer technology, you could theoretically revive them from the dead. I don't think it would be them. I think it would be like the same as if you cloned your brain and put it into a computer. Is that you? I mean, there's philosophical ramifications here.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think like a Project Bluebeam hologram in the sky, Osiris has returned to Earth and he is the true God or whatever. I don't believe any of that shit. But if you can simulate the consciousness of one of these former, I mean, it could be Thor, you know what I mean? Like, if you can simulate the consciousness of one of these former gods, I think it could do quite some damage on society. Or at least even if we could like resurrect Einstein or resurrect Hitler or resurrect Jesus himself, although that would be something. Um, I believe it's fake. Like you said, homunculi. I use golem, but this idea that you're going to Frankenstein something, which I don't know if you knew this. Did they tried to Frankenstein Washington? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I have it in my thing, but Surgeon Frankenstein Washington, they bloodlet him like 300 times after he died. Maybe
Wow.
George Washington. Yeah, they were doing some funky stuff to him. Yeah, the bizarre plan to bring George Washington back to life, and you can't make this up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The day after George Washington's death, a doctor arrived at Mount Vernon and proposed a procedure to resurrect America's first president. And then I think I read somewhere in here that they just drained all the blood out of his body, trying to do whatever they do in 17, whatever, 90 something, 93.
Wasn't he like the 14th president too? Wasn't there like a bunch of presidents before? Like, I don't
Drained
know.
over 40% of his blood, more than 2 liters, in a belief that 4 bloodlettings would correct an imbalance of the 4 primary humors blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, thought to be causing his infection. Oh, he wasn't even dead yet, and they were just like draining his blood on the floor. Gee, poor
He
dude.
probably would have survived, but they're like draining him. Like,
You've never heard of this though. You know he died of
no,
pneumonia. Everybody knows he died of pneumonia. Nobody ever heard that they bloodlet 2 liters out of the dude.
that's
Um,
insane.
they were trying to Frankenstein him, and I think they were using the most cutting edge Freemason knowledge or technology to do so. But look at Frankenstein. I believe it was written 4 years later because 1799. Yeah, 1803. Um, the whole concept of that day and age was that we science has the technology to bring people back from the dead. Here we are, 200 years later, still not there, but
Or maybe
um,
they are, and this is their way of telling us, like they have to tell us like a little bit of truth, like Alex
yeah,
Jones like has to,
disclosure.
yeah, and like read between the lines, like what you're doing with these articles, like okay, what are they really trying to tell us right now?
Let's take
Like,
a sidebar so that way I can rest my voice here. What what? Give me your thoughts on Alex Jones here.
oh, I mean CIA operative from the get-go, you know.
From the get
Tip.
go, you don't think that there was a time when he got like compromised?
No, I think from the very beginning he's been compromised. I mean, his family is born into it. Isn't his like uncle or dad or somebody related to him was like one in the first group of CIA people. He's got, it's in his bloodline, his family. And like even back in, like Bill Cooper was calling him out on the Hour of Time or whatever the hell that show was called that he
Really?
was doing. Yeah, he called him out in the year 2000 or whatever because he was, spreading a bunch of fear porn about Y2K and was said that the Russians were attacking and that like I guess somebody like killed themselves because they believed that Alex Jones was right when he was like freaking out and like I don't know, there was a whole big crazy thing and yeah, Bill Cooper was calling him out from the beginning and like was like, dude,
I'm
this
sorry,
guy.
isn't Bill Cooper who he's supposed to be, or is it a different
No,
Bill?
that's you're thinking of the comedian uh Bill Hicks.
Oh,
So Bill
yeah,
Cooper
sorry,
is William Cooper is the guy that was that had the Hour of Time or something show, and he lived up in Arizona and supposedly got killed on his doorstep by the feds or whatever. He was doing like a radio show in the 90s and early 2000s. He predicted 9/11 before it happened, and then I think he faked his death though. There was like this video audio going around that now I can't find anywhere, but back, in the I want to say like I heard it in like probably 2000 like 9 or 10 or something when I was like into listening to his stuff. Um but he apparently called into a show after 9/11. It sounded just like him, and he was talking about 9/11 and talking about all the stuff that basically he used to talk about, but he was supposedly dead at the time. So I don't know. And then now I can't find it anywhere, of course. Um,
yeah, it's hard to find all that old conspiracy stuff anymore. Like, I remember reading all sorts of sites, and they're all just
yeah, like there was somebody asking me for Morgellons because I've been looking into Morgellons for a long time too, and I want to say like 10 years ago, I saw a video of this guy that made his own like Morgellons, like it was like a magnet therapy, like it looked like like he took an old like tanning bed and like lined it with some like high powered magnets and would like lay in it or put his clients in it, and he did like another video before he made this contraption where he just basically super glued or hot glue gunned a bunch of magnets to like yardsticks and would like rotate them like clockwise and counterclockwise like around each leg, around his arms, around his body. Like he'd have his wife help him, like, and then after he would do that, these weird like fibers would come out of his skin, like the
what
nanotech, like
the
yeah, the nanotech shit would the magnets disrupt the nanotech stuff. So now, like ever since the COVID stuff started and people were talking about these weird blood clots, I'm like, dude, this reminds me of Morgellons. Like, what is this? And like, it's weird because in the like, I feel like the West Coast was is like the the geoengineering, all that stuff was tested out on the West Coast way more than the East Coast. Like it's starting to be more prevalent in the East now, but it was like,
yeah, all
you know,
those open skies.
yeah, even the like in 2010, like Harvard had written about a whole um wrote articles about how they were dumping like 3 times the amount of like what they would normally like geoengineer a state, and they did that in Arizona. And there was a ton of people with Morgellons in Arizona. So I was correlating even back then, I'm sure there was people online that were also thinking the same thing, that something that's in the chemtrails is causing this Morgellons shit. And so but the fact that the magnets like in like somehow interfered with like the nanotech, like I don't know. I mean, I thank God I didn't get the shot, and I don't know anybody personally who got it, but like if there's people out there that have, like, try doing this magnet shit. Try getting some like high powered magnets and rubbing them on your skin and see if any weird if something comes out, or if they
Feel
like
like, we're electromagnetic creatures, so maybe don't mess around with high-powered magnets.
well, not high powered, but like the bigger magnets that are like $50, like that's what he lined, I think, in the whatever. The one that he put where he glued the smaller ones, those were just like the little ones you buy from like the hardware store that are like small, like a size of a quarter or whatever. Like you could start with those and see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you have a bunch of like if you have a pacemaker or something, maybe don't try this. Like, I don't know what all the different, if you have health conditions, like, I don't know. Like I got some metal in my ankle. I don't know if like I've never tried to put a magnet on my ankle to see if it sticks, but anyways,
You and I just start our own, she elite, pyramid scheme, and we just, circle it, yeah.
no,
Oh,
no,
yeah, just magnets and she's elite, that'll get rid of all your problems, huh?
no, hell no. But have you heard the Shilajit? Now people are saying that the Shilajit is giants' coagulated blood because it comes from the Himalayan mountains, and they're like, how the Himalayas looks
I
like
have
it
heard
does look.
somebody say before it's shit, yeah, I don't remember, but that was a while back, somebody was like, "Yeah, this is just feces."
Oh, wow, that's the next level. I heard it was just blood, but like old,
Oh,
like
you're going after
coagulated
blood. I'm going.
blood. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
I mean
petrified
it
feces.
oh man, get Q off in here. Feces maxing. He just would probably be all about the Shilajit
Any
and the sorry.
Anybody I saw push Sheilaji is bona fide the same kind of people who would push a meme coin.
Oh, for sure. And the same thing with the blue, the methane blue, whatever,
Oh,
methylene
did we
blue.
talk about that last time?
I
Methylene
think
blue, folks, is a freaking MK Ultra sub-project. Like it's an antidote to cyanide. Not only that, I know we mentioned that part. I didn't mention last this time how it dyes your nervous system blue. Like your brain will be permanently blue for the rest of your life if you do
what?
methylene blue.
Well, and I
Yeah.
remember hearing or reading something about like pregnant women, like they used to give it to pregnant women and they like messed with like their babies or with something. I don't remember. Oh my gosh,
You know what I'm looking
holy
at?
holy crap. That's
Yeah.
insane.
It's used, I think part of the medical thing it's used for is like X-ray dyes, so that way they can trace something like using
Yeah.
medical scans. I mean, I'm not saying like everything methylene blue is bad, but I mean, obviously, if
n-
it's an
I
antidote
am.
to cyanide, maybe have it around, but don't supplement it like freaking Shilajit and vitamin D. I was just reading an
It's
article this morning how I'll get that off screen. About
oh look at the
how
methylene blue and there's this blue guy. Maybe he
Oh, man. Oh, wow, we're really putting it together. Well, the reason he's blue is because he's fucking dead. This guy, look, his spine's sticking out of his chest, and that's his penis right there.
so wait, well
Um,
you were saying something about and I just cut you off. I'm sorry. You were
this is a
like
Masonic compass, by the way. I don't know if anybody's ever seen
oh,
this image.
oh the square and compass thing in the background.
I was saying Osiris is a Frankenstein. When you really sit down and think about it, like, do you believe this witch woman was able to copulate with a corpse that had been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 pieces? You think she was able to put those 14 pieces back together, copulate, and make a child? Like, that's the actual myth.
No, and then her kid was black, right? Or white, and the
No, no,
guy
no,
was
no.
black or
Horus,
something.
Horus, Horus was light skinned. Osiris was always known as dark skinned. Um, that definitely piss a lot of people off, but it's interesting. Osiris, I say, okay, so Nimrod is the son of Cush. I might be wrong there, but and he's at least in Cush's line. Cush is the father of the Cushites. The Cushites are the land of Cush in Egypt is like southern Egypt. God, what are they fucking South Egypt pyramids? Yeah, Nubian. Sorry, the Nubians, the Kush, built by the kingdom of Kush, right? They were dark skinned, like without a doubt. Everybody back in the day knew the Kushites were quite dark skinned, right? And if you just take the biblical genealogy, Nimrod, Osiris was the son or the descendant of Cush, who was a descendant of Ham. You can get into some racial bibliology that I don't agree with, but the idea is that in some circles, the curse of Ham, because Noah curses Ham after Ham sees him naked. That's a whole thread we can go off on. Most people don't understand that one. Um, there is a Jewish myth, extra biblical, that instead of Ham seeing Noah naked, Ham castrated Noah. And the only reason I pay this any attention is because that is perfectly similar to the Uranus and Kronos Saturn myth. Saturn, I talked about this last time. It's this one, right? Oh no, it's gone.
Saturnalia. Cult. Is
No, the Aphrodite Badal, right? The one
oh yeah.
I keep showing you over and over.
Yeah.
This is supposedly Aphrodite, what fell from Uranus. Aphrodite was born from Uranus's castrated testicle falling into the ocean, creating sea foam, which Aphrodite rose from. That is the story of the birth of Aphrodite, right? His castrated testicle fertilized the ocean. So Aphrodite is the daughter of the ocean, and Uranos. Uranos is the god of rain or the sky. Okay, there you go. Rain and sky, who in biblical terms, especially flat Earth bibliology, who would have been considered most associated with rain in the Bible. I mean, can you take a guess?
Wait, who's associated with rain in the Bible? Noah?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, got it
Noah.
right.
It's no, no, but so you see these parallels, right? So, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is biblical. I'm not asserting this is truth,
Jade, can you
but there
spell it
is
out
an
to go
extra
potty?
biblical Jewish myth
Thank you, baby.
that Ham, instead of just seeing his father naked, which is the way the Bible portrays it, Ham wandered in on his. So Noah creates the first vineyard, gets a little drunk, and forgets to put clothes on, I guess, when he goes to bed. Ham comes into his living quarters. I guess it was a hut. I don't know. And sees him naked. Noah wakes up and he curses Ham, but he curses Canaan. That's right. It's Ham, Canaan, Cush, Nimrod, because Nimrod's the fourth. Um, he curses Canaan, Ham's son, in what honestly it's Mormons, but what racist Bible people say is that the curse of Ham is black skin, right? And so that's how you get this like thread between Nimrod Osiris being dark skinned as a descendant of Cush, who was known to be dark skinned. And it's this idea because I guess antediluvian, everybody was the same race, which I'm gonna guess is like a slightly lighter brown. I mean, it seems to be like that's how it's always depicted. And Noah had three sons who survived the flood with him. Japheth, who went on to become father of the Greeks. In fact, it's recorded in Greek history and mythology of themselves a very close name to Japheth. So Japheth was, I forget the son's name, but Japheth's son was the progenitor of the Greeks, and the Greek, if you believe the table of oh, I forget what it's called, the genealogy as said in the Bible. Ham and Shem. Shem is the father of the Shemites or the Semites, basically all the Middle East light brown people in the world. And Ham, some people say he went to Africa, some people say he went to Asia, but basically his three sons went out and populated the whole earth, which has its own things you could get into. But so the idea is that Ham and his descendants, particularly from Canaan's line, we're all black, and that's all the African black, brown skin, dark skinned people in the world, right? But I've also heard Ham is the progenitor of China, so obviously there's like a spectrum here. Um, Shem, um, we're really getting into it today. So Shem is, I believe, Melchizedek. Are you familiar with the Bible?
A little bit.
Really in Genesis there, like the first 10 chapters or so.
A little bit.
So Melchizedek, Abraham leads the Abraham, what a badass. Um, Abraham leaves his family in Babylon, and because the Lord tells him to go move east to what will eventually become Israel, and he's going to give Israel to his descendants. So if you're a Bible believer, I don't know why you're such an anti-Semite out there, people, because I mean it's literally all over the Bible. But he leaves, and his brother Lot, I think it's Lot, and maybe a few others, get kidnapped in what is called the War of Nine Kings. This is when Sodom and Gomorrah are still around. And in the Jordan Valley there, instead of it being a wasteland as it is now, because that's where Sodom and Gomorrah was, the Lord destroyed the whole area with fire and brimstone, right? But it used to be a thriving river valley that was very fertile. And there was a war. It's called the War of Nine Kings, and I believe Lord of the Rings actually pulls some of this because you have the nine ring wraiths, right? Um, Basically, Lot gets captured, and Abraham, I think he raises like 200, 300 men or something, and he's like, "Let's go get my brother back." And they go, and Abraham single-handedly wins the War of Nine Kings. This is the Bible, the biblical thing. And when he wins, who is described as a high priest of God, Melchizedek, comes and gives him the blessing that basically the blessing in itself, there's like a spiritual lineage of God, not just a physical lineage. And the Melchizedek is basically saying, Abraham, I'm giving you the blessing of the Lord. And like, but Melchizedek, nobody really knows who he is, but I feel like most people have decided on that it's Shem, Noah's son. That gets into, okay, so if Abraham is meeting his ancestor Shem, that's 10 generations. So Shem would have been about 500 years at that point. And then you're starting to get into giants and people living longer, right? Back in the day, which I fully believe. I fully believe that the reason why we look at the gods, small g gods, as the way that they are is because there were humans back in the day who grew really tall and lived really long. And honestly, if you met a 500-year-old, even a 12-foot person, you would be like, are you a god? Like, what is going on? You got something going on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe they're
So I think
GMO.
I mean, the way the flat Earth eschatology actually reconciles all of this is that in the antediluvian world, the ocean above that all the rain fell down from was blocking harmful UV light from the sun, and so it was keeping people living longer,
Hmm.
right? And you have that in Genesis. The Lord says after the flood that he's going to lessen the years of man to 120 years. But even Abraham lives to be 200. So it took time. Like it's a genetic decay that takes place over about 12, 15 generations from the flood. And this is all biblical. So all those people who are like, you need to read the King James version or else you're Satanist Jew. Uh, don't worship books, people. Worship the Lord. Worship reality. Like, do you really think God is so meek and impotent that he can't speak to you in any language with any words he wants to? Just listen. You know what I mean? You don't need a specific version. Obviously, there's versions of the Bible that are way worse than others. Like, don't read the JW Bible. Don't read the Mormon Bible. Um, but so the idea is Shem. Are you familiar with The Lion King?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Hamlet?
Kind of.
It's the plot
I'm
of The Lion
like,
King.
oh, is it? I didn't even
Yeah.
realize.
Um. um well, I mean, Lion King's the plot of Hamlet, but you have the king, his son, and the evil uncle. Okay?
Mm.
So in Egyptian mythology, that's the Osiris myth. That's where Hamlet is based off of too, is the Osiris myth. So Osiris was the first pharaoh, the first king. This is Nimrod. And Nimrod's Gilgamesh. Nimrod is Zeus. Nimrod is the son of Saturn. You know, all that stuff. Nimrod, as Osiris, is ruling over Egypt, and his brother Set is very jealous and decides to conspire with 72 conspirators to kill his brother. There's a couple different versions, but the one version that tends to make sense is Set builds this coffin for a party like Cinderella's slipper, and everybody has to get in the coffin, and whoever gets in the coffin gets to keep the coffin. What a great gift. It's this wonderful coffin, I guess. And yeah. And he built it obviously to Osiris's specifications. It's a trap. Osiris gets in, he locks the coffin, he sends him, I believe, to Lebanon. He sinks to the bottom of the Nile, and he's rescued in Lebanon. ISIS has to go to Lebanon and rip him out of his throne that he's been built. It's a whole thing. But Set, just that name, Set. Well, T and TH in ancient Semitic are the same. There's no difference. Seth is Abel's and Cain's younger brother. Seth is the one who gets the spiritual lineage, like I'm saying, right? That Melchizedek gave to Abraham. And if you are familiar with any Gnostic, Illuminati, Pythagoreanism, Satanism, Luciferianism writings, they love Cain and they hate Seth and they hate the Sethites. That's what they call Muslims, Jews, and Christians are Sethites, the Sethite religion. Okay, it's in the name. Seth, Set, it Osiris, Shem, Melchizedek, Noah's son, killed Nimrod on behalf of the Lord because Nimrod was building the Tower of Babel. He was going to unite the world against God. He killed him. And the way it's all been twisted around in the mythology is Shem becomes the bad guy and Osiris, Nimrod, becomes the good guy or the earthly king. Um, and that's basically like how I get from point A to point B with all this meteorite cult stuff is that these Luciferians, these Satanists, these Freemasons worship Nimrod, Osiris, and this lineage of Cain, who Cain was also the first city builder. He was the first well, his son was the first metallurgist. But essentially, before the flood, he was the Mason,
Baby,
the
can
Mason.
you
He
let
was the one who
Jade
built the first
or can
cities
you let Stella in,
of
baby?
creation.
Thank you.
Um,
Love you.
so it's this idea that I mean, I really look at it as just two sides. You're either pro Osiris or you're pro Set. You're either pro Nimrod or you're pro Shem. This idea that God wants a spiritual reconciliation to him versus this idea that no, like Osiris, Nimrod, through might and strength of mankind's will alone, we don't need you, God. Please piss off. And I think it's an ancient battle that's just been going on forever. And I think that, let me pull him back up here. I think that I mentioned I touched this last time, but I think Isis was the queen of the world, queen of everything, and her husband died, and she didn't have an heir, and she had no claim to the throne herself because everybody worshipped him. That they just threw everything at the wall to try and either get him to come back to life, like George Washington, or to create an heir for her. But I think Horus was a bastard child. Horus is their son. Horus is Simba. Horus is Hamlet. The son of the murdered king who needs to overthrow the evil uncle, overthrow Shem, the progenitor of the Semite religions of Abrahamic religions, Judeo Christianity. Like, are you starting to see how this all really like? I know I'm just proposing ideas, but does it really seem so far fetched?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I definitely
Here it
think
is.
all of this stuff is
Look how they look.
intertwined.
Look at that. Where else do we see people depicted with comically large noses?
Oh,
Oh, wait, no, I don't want real people. Give me the meme. Yeah, right. I mean, how different is this from this several thousand years ago? I feel like it's just a meme. Um, propaganda, ancient hieroglyphic propaganda. So that was a
oh
lot
man.
that I just said.
No, that was good. I mean, I've heard people say that all of these are intertwined and everything, so I'm glad that you can break it down. Like, I had no idea the Lion King was Hamlet and all of that. Like, that makes sense. You know, they put everything in the movies to mimic their gods that they, the stories, their old stories that they like to tell over and over and over again in like 1,500 different ways.
Yeah, I mean, are you familiar with Graham Hancock's work?
Yeah, a little bit, not too much. Like I know his name. I know he's like on like
He's a dude on
yeah, he's
Netflix.
on Discovery and stuff, right? Like he's like kind of a mainstream.
That's not
science
how
guy?
I mean, he's probably no, he's
He's
no, no,
not
no.
mainstream? I thought that he
Well,
was
no, he's
science.
not a mainstream science guy. I wouldn't call him that.
Okay.
He's
He's
probably the
like
most lambasted pseudo, quote unquote, pseudo scientist in the world right now. And frankly, I'm not going to sit here and defend Graham Hancock because I think his 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 window here is past. I think he needs to pass the torch on to somebody because even though I think Flint Dibble's a prick, his last few episodes on Joe Rogan haven't looked too good for him. Yeah, he has that Netflix series called
Graham Hancock does?
yeah, oh
He's got a Netflix series? Yeah, he's definitely mainstream.
yeah, yeah. Uh
I mean, I guess anybody that's on
Ancient Apocalypse, that's it.
yeah.
Um Graham Hancock's whole shtick is that there's an ancient advanced civilization that archaeology and science have been covering up. Right. I mean, I think that's something most of us in your circle and in my circle can get on board with. Is this idea that we're being lied to about our past and that people in the past might actually be smarter than we give them credit for. Um but
Starting
a
to
lot
sound
of
like a
his
Tartarian, be careful.
well,
Just joking.
no. First of all, I'm a young earther. Everything I just told you, scientists would fucking balk at me. They're like, "There's no crossover between the Egyptian mythology and the Semite religion, you fucking idiot." It's like I believe everything's holistic, and I believe myths come from true places. And I don't think that that needs to be something that people write off. A myth is somewhere in between fantasy and science. It is a encoded story to transmit information that has a deeper meaning to it for those who are initiated or listen closely. Much like, have you ever heard that Homer's The Iliad is actually a star map?
No,
Yeah, let me
I
see
don't
if I
think
can
so.
find something like that. Iliad as a star map. Oh, I'm not gonna find anything, I guess, like that. It's this idea that the heroes in the Iliad, like Odysseus or Achilles, um, represented constellations, and that their movements, as described in Homer's writing, is describing the movement of celestial bodies through the night sky, right? And this idea that myths are enshrouded in the sky. There's two ways to eternally transmit a story to future humans, no matter what. There's two things in our existence that will never really change. Do you know what those are?
What?
Take a guess.
Um,
Like, if you wanted to leave a message for 10,000 years from now, what would you what would you try to do? What is something that is so permanent that you might be able to get somebody to decode that message?
vaccines are bad.
What? No, that's not what I mean. I mean, how would you portray that message?
Stone.
Yeah, stone. There you go. Pyramids. Stone alignment, Stonehenge, all of these megalithic structures around the earth are our ancestors trying to communicate something to us. I definitely believe that. It wasn't just, hey, let's put these rocks here, ding a ding a dar. We dragged this fucking 200-ton rock about 500 miles and across an ocean, even though historians say we don't have the technology to do that. Like, why? Did you do that, you weird druids? Like, aren't you doing like weird sacrifices? It's because they're trying to tell us something. What Graham Hancock goes into is what they're trying to tell us is about a cataclysm, right? There's going to be a big old asteroid that comes down and kills humanity. And unless we go under the earth like that lady who was on Tucker Carlson 2 years ago, we're all fucked. Um, two,
To
two
the
years ago,
surface.
2 weeks ago.
Was it two
Did
weeks
you
ago?
see that article?
No.
Uh, yeah, some lady who was a Bush advisor came on and Tucker Carlson and was like, "There's millions of miles underneath the earth of deep underground military bases that are all connected, and it's so the elite can survive a near extinction event." Okay, anytime I see in the popular masses, the words near extinction event come up, I really feel like they're just trying to induce us all into committing suicide via psychosis. I don't know. I don't believe that the world goes down with an asteroid or a nuke. You know what I mean? I don't think that's how
Yeah, I
humanity
mean,
ends.
I don't even think nukes are real, so
Oh, we
like,
should get into that because I'm not entirely convinced either. Um, no, okay. Real quick aside on that. What kind of clearance do you need to get into a nuclear facility in America? Do you know?
no.
Q clearance.
What?
Q clearance. You need
Q?
Q, the letter Q clearance in order to access top nuclear facilities.
No way. That's
Yeah, that's where the
hilarious.
QAnon shit comes from. Is because actually what we're both discussing was a QAnon theory first, but the idea that nuclear weapons don't exist.
That was
The
not a Q theory. That was
Yes, it
from
was.
Galen
Yes, it
Windsor.
was.
Galen Windsor. I think
What is
Galen
Game
Windsor
in
was
Windsor?
you don't know who Galen Windsor is? And you, oh my God. Okay. I want to
You know,
say it
I'm
was
really
like the
stupid. I
90s.
just like
You're,
reading.
you're not stupid. You're very smart. But I first heard about the nuclear stuff from Galen Windsor from like his lectures from like the 90s.
Oh, okay.
He was like
Maybe
I
they're
think he
cribbing
did
from him.
I think he designed, helped design a bunch of the nuclear facilities, and he used to swim in the coolant pools and eat uranium in his lectures, like in front of people, to show them that it's not a big deal and that and I don't know, you need to watch some of his lectures.
No,
I'll send you some.
I'm in agreement with that. I'm not so sure. There was so much radioactive radium, like it was in everything, and I don't believe that it was fully just causing people to drop dead from cancer. Like there was something people knew, and then but also, it's sensitive materials. You can't just go out and mine some radium and expect the government to not come find you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Galen was saying was that the reason why they want to scare you and change keep changing the numbers of what's safe levels to have and whatever is they don't want people just making their own power in in their communities or whatever,
Yeah.
and they want everybody scared. It's all comes down to fear again with
Yeah, I grew up next
everything.
to a nuclear reactor, and they used to make us do reactor drills growing up in school.
Would you like duck and cover under your desk and stuff, or would
Yeah,
you
no,
like
go
what
in
do
the
you
hall and duck and cover as if that's gonna make a difference.
well, that's funny.
Well, it was funny because the kids who lived even closer, they didn't even get that. They were just like, "Yeah, if the alarm goes off, we're not making it, kids." Can you imagine what that does to people? That was also an MK Ultra town, so go figure. Um,
Yeah.
did you know that the day the Senate here, pulled up, Senate MK Ultra investigation. Yes, the joint hearing select committee on intelligence and the subcommittee of health and scientific research of the Committee on Human Resources, United States Senate, 95th Congress, first session, August 3rd, 1977. Biden was actually on this commission, so that's how you know it's all fucking bullshit that they looked into. We've investigated ourselves and found that we did nothing wrong. But August 3rd, 1977. Want to take a gander as to when the Department of Energy was created?
Um, um, I don't know. I have no idea.
August 4th, 1977.
Oh, really? I was
Literally
thinking,
within 24 hours, Jimmy Carter created the United States Department of Energy. The concept, and this is also QAnon, the concept is that what the CIA was doing with MK Ultra, they got busted. Actually, I think it was Watergate that flipped the lid on all this stuff. But they got in trouble, and they spent 5 years because it was 1972 they got busted with Watergate, and well, I guess that was 74. But and there were two separate commissions looking into this. The Frank Church Commission, which is full of Freemasons, and one of those, I believe, being Barry Goldwater, who was also on the JFK Warren Commission. And Barry Goldwater, that's Arizona, by the way. Just
yeah, I know that name.
yeah. And then the idea is that when the investigation started, the Senate really looking into the MK Ultra because it was that 1977 Senate committee, Senate sub select whatever. Looking into MK Ultra, that's where we get John Marks's book for the Manchurian Candidate, which is pretty much where we've built all of our knowledge to MK Ultra. We can talk about MK Ultra all day. I'm an expert, but I will say that I am a freaking MK Ultra expert. But the idea is that in order to reshuffle all of the classified human experiments that were going on in MK Ultra and the CIA at that time, they reshuffled it all into the United States Department of Energy, slapped Q security clearance on it all, and said, hey, unless you are somebody we choose and approve of, you're not going to have access to this information because of nuclear. Ooh. And so that is, I think, one of the strongest proponents, in my opinion, to suggest that nuclear energy, the Department of Energy, nuclear weapons, nuclear science, we're not getting the full story on. I think a lot of stuff goes into the Department of Energy. I mean, do we know which federal department was featured in Stranger Things, folks?
Oh yeah.
It was the Department
Um,
of Energy. That's where that whole facility took place.
I just didn't even think about that. That's a trip.
Yeah.
They, I mean, they could
So,
be pulling energy from the ether for all we know, you know.
well,
Wow.
nuclear power, in truth, really is just steam power with
Right,
extra steps.
right.
Like,
That's
there's
true.
nothing too complicated about it. It's just that nuclear energy, though, like if you have some plutonium or uranium, the way that it decays, it's very efficient in creating heat. And so you boil some water on top of it and move some turbines around. It's just steam energy.
It's like a
Um,
giant distiller, basically.
yeah, no, it really is though.
It
Like,
even looks
there's
like a distiller. Like I think about my distiller I have in the other room, like kind of looks like the same little shape as like like without or I guess they gotta have a lid on it, but I
I
don't
guess I
know if
gotta
the
look up a reactor, not
I was gonna
silo.
ask you what so which ones do you know off the top of your head which one of the meteorites did come back as being tested as terrestrial? Because it reminds me of like just what we were talking about earlier with the petrified wood that like for however many years, like 50 years or something, this piece of moon rock was being passed around as a moon rock, and then somebody like tested it and figured out it was freaking petrified wood the whole time. So, like,
Saw an
I
article
wonder.
the other day that a NASA intern stole a whole bunch of moon rocks and went to a hotel and had sex with his girlfriend on top of them. I think
What?
that's just I just think that's a really funny story that came probably a spy com, to be honest. Anytime you see
Yeah,
stories like
that
that are
are.
just total nonsense,
Who did
it's just
that?
some
Elon?
no, a NASA intern. It
Oh, a
was like
NASA.
somebody, yeah, like he just wanted to impress his girlfriend.
What? Super
Yeah.
weird.
Oh, what was your question? What if I know of any
Oh, like,
meteorites that were terrestrial? No, but I have. And you can see I've got a lot of things here. One of
fascinating.
these ones, Harvard and NASA did a deep dive research in the what year was this? 2002, early 2000s into all of these meteorites that I'm talking about. So if you think I'm just full of shit, no. Like it was enough that NASA and Harvard were like, we might as well look into this, like on meteors and mushrooms. That's the other panspermia fungus found on meteorites.
Space fungus? Or, like, earth fungus?
No, this is actually a good stepping off point because the Eleusinian. I think I talked about this last time. The Eleusinian mysteries. That would be the main mystery school in Greece. Plato was a part of it. Um, uh, they had LSD back in antiquity. Uh, a fungus called ergot that grows on rye, a rye grain. That gets a little moldy because the snows melt late that year. That's really how it happens. The idea is the suggestion, anyways, is that a fungus, as you can see, while it's rare to find fungal life directly on meteorites, fungal spores and even fungal-like structures have been found in some meteorites. I mean, can't make this up. A meteorite in Belgrade, that's Serbia for you Americans, was found in 1973. Well, that's really oh wait, that's a fucking mid-journey. Never mind, it's probably AI bullshit. NASA's clean room is contaminated with fungus, although microbes and other facilities were bacteria. Between 83% and 97% of microbes at the meteorite lab were fungus. If you look into meteorites and fungus, it's everywhere, and it's a part of panspermia. This idea that because fungus is also, it has that backbone of phosphate, which brings it all back into the phosphate control theory again. Um, basically the idea is that a meteorite fell into ancient Greece, infected the wheat crop with a fungus that was on it, and that is what caused the ergot to grow on the rye that can be distilled into LSD, ancient LSD, lysergic acid, diethylamine. That part of the D is not important in LSD. That's just the specific compound. You can have LSA, which is found on morning glory seeds, which probably just got us flagged on YouTube that I'm telling people that. And then but the lysergic acid part, that's the part that makes you trip to varying degrees. And I don't know. I mean, you want to get into like maybe so okay, here's my theory as far as like if you're going to go with a terrestrial born meteorite, how does one do it intentionally in antiquity? A freaking trebuchet. Just launch a rock up into orbit and see where it I don't know. This is the best I've ever gotten with it. I think the ancients had hot air balloons though. Okay, you just sew together some elephant stomachs, hydrolysis, all you're doing is boiling water and making sure that you separate the hydrogen and the oxygen. I don't think it's that hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at all those old pictures of the whited out skies from the Tartarian people, you know? Like, why are they whiting out the
I can't find
skies?
those
It's
right now.
probably full of balloons dropping rocks down on people claiming they're fucking astronauts.
Yeah, well, no, but like I think they had spy balloons. I think that's how they were able to do because if there's one thing that stumps people to death about antiquity is how were they such good cartographers? And I don't mean cartographer like how were they so good at surveying that you could build pyramids that lead all aligned to this city, right?
Yeah.
That it's absurd. Not only that, the pyramid, you look into what it actually aligns with on Earth, it is like, how do you guys know what London looks like all the way from Egypt? You know what I mean? You go sail there and then you just walk with like one of those chalk lines just in a straight line all the way back to Egypt. Well, you got to cross the Mediterranean. How'd you do that? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense unless, I mean, there's two ways it can make sense. They had telescopes, which I do believe they had. Well, let's look that up. You want to talk about Nimrod again? Nimrud lens. Here you go. This is a real thing. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Most
That's
people say it's bullshit, like the scientists or whatever, but it's a piece of rock crystal that, I mean, it looks a little bit like a prototype of a telescope lens, wouldn't you say?
yeah.
Um, and it may have been used as a magnifying glass or a burning glass. Okay, so the theory in modern sciences is that nobody had a good enough telescope lens and the ability to chisel glass like that until I don't know, like the Renaissance. Maybe the Muslims had it, and they just tell us that they didn't because Western civilization hates Byzantium. They just do. Did you know about Byzantium growing up?
No.
Yeah, but they were, super powerful Rome until the Ottoman Empire, and that's where all of Rome went for 1,000 years to Byzantium.
Mm.
Um, so there's no Dark Ages. There's just a Dark Age in France. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And guess who was building the cathedrals like Notre Dame? It was the Byzantine, the Byzantines,
Oh,
the would
Byzantine.
be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Byzantine sounded different than Byzantine. So I've heard of the Byzantine, like, whatever. I've heard that before, but I didn't
So
know that they're called.
Byzantion is Istanbul today, Constantinople, right?
Ah, okay.
That became the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, which, as Rome fell, as we know it, as Westerners, as Rome fell, everybody migrated over to Turkey. And because honestly, Turkey and Greece here were the center of civilization for at least 2,000 years before Rome. And well, we can get back into the meteorite cult. That statue that I talked about last time, Athena's statue, Alice Athena, right? Everybody's seen this dumb statue. Um, that's what we think of when we think of Athena is this statue. But I described briefly how this statue fell from the sky and it marked the place of what Troy would be. And as long as that statue was in Troy, then Troy would be a powerful city. And then Odysseus got in there and stole it and took it back to Athens. And that's when Greece became the new, or Attica became the new center of civilization. Well, the Romans. I don't know how truthful it is because honestly, I think the Romans really were like, what's the word? Plagiarists. I think the Romans took a lot of credit for things that weren't theirs, like in Lebanon. You know that place in Lebanon?
No.
Shit.
Sounds like FE core, though, in the flat earth, that they've been
Baalbek,
mining
Baalbek.
the community for their ideas and never gives credit to the people. But anyway, sorry,
Uh,
carry on.
no, but the Baalbek megalith, right? Look at this
Uh-huh.
motherfucker. That is one stone, and it was moved like, if not hundreds, at least 1,000 miles. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Nobody can figure it out. Nobody has any idea how to describe it. And the Romans were just like, no, we did that. That was us. I know it
Mm.
wasn't, you freaking liars. They built the Temple of Jupiter, as you can see, this like last remaining part, um, on top of it. So the Romans definitely have a plagiarist complex. Look, like this is for scale. Like, and that
Yeah.
thing is heavy, heavier than any of the stones in the actual Great Pyramid. Right? It's the heaviest megalith that nobody can figure out how they moved it at all. I don't know if it's a specific one, but there's another one like around it too. It's ridiculous, and I can't explain. Nobody can explain Baalbek. Nobody understands Baalbek being Baal would be Cush, and Cush is Saturn, and Saturn is Nimrod's father. So it's all in the names too. It's the same people over and over and over again. And I believe Baal was the god of storms in Canaanite religion. So god of storms, there you go. You got Noah, Uranus. It's the same three figures over and over again. Saying Byzantium. Oh, the Romans. So the Romans. You're right. The Palace of Athena. I don't even know where that tab went. The Palace Athena, though. Go back. Yeah, there we go. So the Romans, part of their origin myth was instead of Odysseus taking the Palace Athena back to Athens, instead it is the Aeneid, right? That's their origin myth, is the Aeneid of Virgil, their version of Homer, or like the Roman version of Homer. And so he said, instead of Odysseus taking the Palace Athena back to Greece, that Aeneas, or I think it's Aeneas, I can't remember who it's named after. He, yeah, Aeneas, a Trojan who fled the fall of Troy and traveled to Italy, where he became the ancestor of the Romans. Like, it's right here on Wikipedia, first line, people. What they don't say is he took the Palace Athena and he took it back to Rome, and that's why Rome, they took this statue and that meteorite statue, and that's why Rome became the power center. So, and then you really want to get into it because the column of Constantine, he was supposedly, he made a little Helios statue to himself on top because, the progenitor of Christianity, quote unquote, such a humble guy that he made himself look like Apollo. Um, but essentially, when he died, he had himself buried, and I think it's on here. He had himself buried with that Athena statue too. You know, so it is this idea. Yeah, the palladium of ancient Rome. The palladium is the wooden statue of Pallas Athena from Troy. It's right here. I'm not making anything up. Um, it's there's this continuity going on. That, I mean, from this would be like 330 or yeah 330. There's your 33, by the way. Another reason why history might be fake is because of stuff like that. But
Definitely fake because of stuff like that. But sorry, keep going.
no, so but there's this through line in history because from 330 to, I mean, the Trojan War supposedly happened in 1200 BC. That's 1500 years of history, all centered around this one Athena statue. saying that whoever holds this meteorite statue is the center of civilization, and that's been part of its origin from the beginning. And I mean, whether or not you believe it had that power, they did, and they took it with them everywhere they went. So Athena traveled from Troy to Athens to Rome and then eventually to Constantinople. And it was lost at some point in antiquity. I mean, if it really was a wooden statue, I mean, all it takes is a little bit of fire, but and then probably the Christians destroyed it. I mean,
Probably
it happened.
petrified and like in one of their underground bunkers somewhere or something.
It's still here today. They've had to
Oh,
reinforce it because it's fallen over a bunch. Not the statue, but the column. It's still here. It's in the
oh,
middle of the
someone
city.
stole the statue on top.
Well, I mean, it's like Hitler looking for the Ark, right? I feel like anybody, like maybe Napoleon did. I mean, I don't know, but did
Maybe
Napoleon
the
go to
Jews did.
Constantinople?
Maybe they got it under New York somewhere in one of their tunnels. Shit.
Oh, that'd be wild. Oh, you know what? It probably is likely like in a Smithsonian vault or like the Museum of London vault. I wouldn't doubt that, you know.
Vatican
Th-
for sure.
These things go missing, right? And then they're just like, oops, we don't know what happened to it. And it's like, well, maybe somebody's just hiding it now, maybe, you know?
Yeah, someone's definitely
I,
hiding. It's a
I wouldn't
cloak rack.
advertise if I had a mythical meteorite statue that grants me the power over civilization. Would you? I'm not
Yeah,
gonna be like, "Hey, come see it."
put it on display.
I don't know. I mean, this is our history. Well, at least Western history. But this is
This is what they
our
tell us our history is.
well, okay, this is what they tell us our history is, but it's enough of a part of a foundational part of Western civilization's history that, like I'm saying, there's a through line of at least 1,500 years here of people worshiping these things at the center of civilization, and you just have to ask yourself why. Because I mean, when you talk about Greek gods or Egyptian gods or whatever, and you talk to it to like a history professor at Harvard, they're just going to tell you, "Oh yeah, those people are so stupid. They worshipped gods that really just were stand-ins for animist forces in nature." And it's like, do you really believe what you're saying? You really think humans were so stupid back then that they were just like, "Yes, invisible invisible statue, you know,
Maybe
spirits
that's
inhabit these statues, and that's what gives us our power over." I mean, we have that. We have that in America. I mean, I told you we have that Athena in Nashville.
yeah. Maybe that's why the Bible says like not to worship idols and statues and stuff like that.
Absolutely, they're dead. They're not real. They're not living. He is the living God, is what they say. But they hear the
Well,
largest
that's
Athena
huge.
statue. No,
That's
yeah, it's
in
the largest in
Nashville?
the world. I think. What? No, this. Yeah,
Oh,
this is in Nashville. This is in the
what?
center of Nashville, up on Vanderbilt University, that little hill that they're in or whatever.
That's
Um,
huge.
I know. Eh, It is the same state that
Snake?
has the pyramid there, the Bass Pro Shop. Well, it's not Bass Pro Shop anymore, but um, you ever been to Memphis?
No. Oh,
I
I
lived there
did
for a
actually.
time.
I did go to Memphis for an art show like 7 years ago.
Well, they got a. I mean, Memphis, Egypt is where all these pyramids were. I don't even. I've got so many tabs open now. Memphis, Egypt is where this guy was. Where Heliopolis, where the Giza pyramids were, and now we've got a Memphis pyramid in America. You know, we're still using these same symbols to justify why our civilization is superior. You ever seen this? Right along the Mississippi there?
I don't
It
think
used to
I
be a
did.
basketball stadium.
Maybe
I
I
don't know how
did.
they sat people in it.
It looks familiar. Is there another one somewhere else? Because I remember driving by a giant pyramid like years ago. Maybe it was there.
Well, this is right along I-40, so if you ever took I-40 across the US, or
Oh,
not,
then yeah, then that's probably the one that I saw then, because we drove from Phoenix to
and there's
Memphis.
these in St. Louis there, right outside St. Louis, or maybe this is the one in Alabama, but Mississippi mud, Mississippi mound builders. Gosh, we can get into all that because I do believe I believe King Solomon of the Jews of Israel had trade with the Americas, and I believe he built Machu Picchu.
Oh,
Yeah, well, Machu Picchu is an interesting one, right? Because I can never spell it right. This used to be a port. I don't know if you I've never been to Peru. This is on my bucket list to go to. So, hey, if somebody wants to send me $10,000 so I can go see Peru, please do.
Maybe that's the emergency Witsit has. He has a GoFundMe for $10,000 right now, and he won't tell anybody why. It's like an emergency, and he keeps
Who?
like Witsit, the guy that I have been trolling for a minute on that went to the Antarctica trip that is like super like infamous e-bagger in the flat earth world. And anyways, I guess he's done a couple of live streams recently talking about how he's gonna tell everybody at the end of the stream that why he's asking what the emergency is, because he said it's like some sort of like a family emergency that he needs the $10,000 for. And then the end of the stream comes and he's like, "Oh, I'll talk about it next time." I'm like, "Oh, what a tease. Like, why are you gonna like tell everybody at the beginning that you're gonna tell everybody at the end, and then at the
Some
end you're like, "No, next
grifters.
time." And then the next one comes and he doesn't bring it up again, and everyone's just like, "Dude, why are you asking for all this money? That's like a lot of money to be asking for to not tell everybody what the fuck is going on." So it's just funny that you didn't even know that and you just randomly bring up like, "Oh, everyone wants to send me $10,000." Like
Well, I'm
it's
telling you why. I want to go to Peru. It's no mystery. I really want to see Machu Picchu. That's my main goal in life. I don't know if it'll ever happen. It's just a
I don't
pipe
think it'll
dream.
cost 10 grand. That sounds like a lot. I feel like, isn't it like cheaper? It's like there, like to eat and like, stay in hotels and all that stuff. Like, I thought it was like the plane trip would probably, like the flight would probably cost the most, you know? Um, you see,
One to
well,
$5,000.
you're asking for
The
10. Well,
the
I guess if you
problem
want to
the
bring
problem
it,
with Machu Picchu
Mhm.
specifically is you gotta go from Lima, then you gotta go to Cusco, and then I think it's like a 3 or 4 hour, like, bus drive with bandits to Machu
The
Picchu. It's in the
bandits.
middle of nowhere, you've gotta hike. I mean, I might be exaggerating because I don't really know, but it doesn't seem like the easiest trip in the world to make.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that it's, like, super flooded with tourists anyways, so, um and they'll probably make it like the Mexican pyramids where it's like, "No touchy." I really hate that enough people fell off those pyramids that I can't climb if I want to. Maybe I wanna go see what's up at the top. I mean, I get that there were rivers of blood coming down that pyramid, but it'd still be cool. Um,
According to their stories, I mean, if you believe that, right?
what? The
That there
people
was
falling
like
off of it?
sacrifices, because didn't you say like is that what
Oh,
you're
I
referring
definitely
to with
believe
the
it. Let me tell you, as somebody who's pretty close with some Navajo people, back in the day, people were fucking rough here. The blood and heads rolled. I'm not saying they were all savages, but there were definitely some tribes that were more savage than others, and the Aztecs were one of them. There's people here who claim uh, descendancy from the Aztecs, and there's a whole Aztec death cult in New Mexico. No,
It's
they're
like I've seen
very
the pictures and like drawings and stuff of like the Aztec art with like the heads rolling off, but I also think partially that could be like propaganda art to like,
Yeah, no, I mean,
try
there's
to
propaganda. Obviously, the Spaniards. I mean, if you really want to know the story, apparently Cortez burned all of his boats with his 520 something men and said, "Boys, we're not going back. You're gonna have to fight your way to prosperity." That's the story. And apparently, these 500 men took on 300,000 Aztecs. Now, I mean, they had help with the neighboring tribes, but that's the thing. They had help with the neighboring tribes because the neighboring tribes all thought the Aztecs were dickheads too. The Aztecs were dickheads. I'm sorry. I'm not being insensitive. I'm not saying all Native Americans were dickheads. The Aztecs were. Moctezuma was an asshole. Granted, he was trying to fight the fact that the white man was coming into America and slaughtering all his people, but they weren't nice. And they had that sacrifice is real. So, but it's not just brown people who sacrifice. White people go look into. Have you seen what's that one? Somar, the with Florence Pugh.
no.
Midsommar, movie Midsommar.
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, it's just about Norway people freaking sacrificing each other. So,
Oh,
um, it's like blood sacrifice still continues today. It's a very real reality. There's magic in the blood. There's the life is in the blood. The spirit is in the blood. And when you
adrenochrome.
release, well, I mean, you can get into all sorts of things, but even just a bloodletting ceremony with intention has its. I talked to. I was in New York City once. I really hate that city. No offense. Um, Met a Colombiana there, and she was telling me her grandmother was a bruja, and she told me how if you want a man to crave you, mix your. Um,
Ew. Don't even
yeah,
finish that. I've heard
yeah.
that before. It's so gross.
I think I told
Um,
you. I tell everybody that story.
Yeah, no, I've heard it in other like, cause I mean, okay, in my early flat earthing days, like there was a group of piss drinkers and blood over intent people that came
Oh,
into
that
the
the
flat earth
piss
scene.
drinking, by the way, is making a comeback. You wanna get those nanobots out, drink that piss, baby. Can you believe there's people out there getting people to drink their own piss so that way they don't have nanobots?
Dude, there's feces maxing too, which is why when you brought up the Shilajit being feces, I'm like, ah, that's so gross. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I don't take any of that garbage anyways, but I'd heard about it being like coagulated giant blood. And I mean, I've seen those Himalayan rocks that look like bacon. Like I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, that does look like freaking bacon, you know? So I mean, it would make sense if the same mountain you're getting this Shilajit, that's like that looks like, coagulated blood, like old dry blood. Like, I don't
That's,
know, man.
uh that's what that guy, I'm the improbable dreamer. Signs of our hidden past. He
I
would
won't
always talk
reach.
about how Himalayan sea salt was actually just dried giant muscle sinew or something.
Man, it could be. I don't know. I mean, it does look like bacon, I'm not gonna lie. And then when the Shilajit stuff came out, I'm like, oh my God, it's blood. And now I gotta tell Q off about the feces maxing with the Shilajit. Because, dude, that's the thing. So, anyways, the blood over intent was a thing. There was like a whole group of flat earthers that were like into this weird blood over intent shit. And I never got down with any of that. I'm like, no, I'm
Blood
good.
over intent, so doing blood magic to what?
I
What's
don't
the
know
aim here?
to like most of these people. The thing that tripped me out is most of these people were like e-beggars, like they would like
E-beggars?
can't yeah, like they asked for money on the internet and stuff like and they would like talk about, they were like homeless or like they were talking about how they had all these issues and I'm like, dude, but you're telling me to do blood over intent. Can't you blood over intent yourself some money or some like a house to live in or like some shit, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just like I'm good. I'm gonna pass. The
This
people that are
stuff is still present, though, and I didn't realize until I learned to I moved to New Mexico. Magic is very real here, like,
yeah,
people believe in
I'm
it,
sure.
people practice it, there's Satanist circles here, there's witch circles and covens. I
Yeah.
battle with them all the time. I know people who battle with them all the time. There's bad people doing bad stuff in the world, and I'm sorry if that upsets you in your little bubble in Southern Illinois or whatever, people, but, like, there's bad people doing bad stuff, and
Yeah.
they don't give a shit about what you think about it because it's real. And
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I couldn't tell you how it works. I really couldn't tell you how it works. But
I
apparently, if
feel
you
like
do stuff with blood, shit happens.
well, I don't know. I also think that like it only like works if you believe it works, because I mean I've had like, like people back then like, supposedly put hexes on me and all this, I'm like, okay, it didn't work. My life's fucking awesome. So, like good luck with that, like hexing
I
me
don't
or
think
whatever
magic
type of shit.
works. It's nullified by faith. It's and you don't even have to have openly avowed faith. You don't have to have practicing faith. You don't even have to have conscious faith. It's just like if you're a good person and you're not harming people, like, God sees people's hearts and God doles out, he gives to each person their due. That's just the way it works. It's spiritual law. And so if you're a person and you're going about your business and maybe in your case you got like enough shit going on in your life, somebody putting a hex on you, I mean, one, I personally believe a lot of these hexes just backfire on people. I think anytime you do magic, it
That's what pretty
backfires.
much happened. I'm not gonna lie. The people that like tried to to like tell me that they were putting hexes on me and mess with me, like their lives actually got so much worse. Like my life actually got better. Their life like fell apart and like,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
they're making a deal with things they shouldn't, and there's so many people who think that, including the Freemasons, they think they have the spiritual realm figured out, but I really think it's just impossible for our minds to comprehend fully how the spiritual realm works because it's not for us to know. Imagine if you knew every single spiritual secret, you would be a veritable god, and that's wrong. Nobody should have that. No one man should have all that power. It's just uh but it's true. Like there's limitations, and even if you try all the cheat codes in the world to break out of the matrix, you're just gonna slap yourself in the face from the other side.
yeah,
Don't mess around with it. You're much better off saying a prayer than you are trying to like cut your hand open while standing in a magic circle and
yeah,
incant some
um,
Latin. And not
yeah,
to mention, it's gonna. Why would you?
yeah. I
Have
I
you
don't
ever
understand.
seen a single movie?
Yeah, I used to be in Cadexis's little Discord group back in the day, and he was always trying to get people to come together and do because he would claim that like the other people, you know, there's bad people doing bad magic, so we need to do good magic to combat the bad magic. I'm like, dude, I'm not into the magic circles and the candles and all that bullshit. Like
No, there's no
I
good magic. There's just people fooling themselves. There is.
Yeah, I'm glad I never bought into tried any of that garbage or did any of the blood over intent nonsense. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll keep my blood. I'm also not into like donating blood. Like I had another friend that used to donate blood or plasma or whatever all the time. And he's like, it regenerates itself. I'm like, according to who? According to the same people
Your
that
bone marrow.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't believe that. Like, just like it reminds me of the bloodletting, like what you were talking about earlier with like, what's his name? Like, it's a creepy, weird ritual. Like, I think the blood needs to stay in your body. Like, I don't think you should just be giving that shit out. I feel like you need it. And if it does regenerate, like, cool, but like, do you really want to gamble? Like, you're trusting the same people that told you the certain thing was safe and effective. You really want to trust that, like, oh yeah, give us your unvaxxed blood. We'll give you pennies on the dollar for it, and it'll regenerate. Don't worry, you'll get more. Like, no,
It's
I'm not
more
believing
like
it.
it's more like medical experimentation. Actually, plasma is a really big deal in New Mexico. It's how a lot of junkies go and get their $50 for the day. Um, I used to sit in this parking lot, and it's like you would watch this loop. The bus stop was there. People would get off the bus, go to the plasma center, get their $50, and walk to the liquor store next door, and then get back on the bus. And you would just watch this circle of people doing
That's
that.
so sad.
Yeah, and the plasma in particular, I mean, I don't know a lot about plasma, but it's yeah, I think it contains more information than just blood alone, and honestly, it's just MK Ultra medical experimentation shrouded as um, how come we have billions of dollars each year going to cancer research and we still don't have a cure for cancer? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? What are they doing with that money? What are they doing with that research? All that bone marrow, all that blood, all that medical data. It's This is why I get upset that everybody ever since October 7th, 2023 is so like the Jews, the Zionists. It's like, whoa, I remember because I'm very steeped in the conspiracy world. Everybody was really actually catching on to Operation Paperclip, this idea that the top brass in medicine, in economics, in politics in our country were flooded with Nazis. From the like escape America paid for Nazis to come to it's like the end of Inglorious Bastards. He's like, I want a home in Nantucket and in complete immunity. And I want my name to go down that I helped the Americans. He's like, that's fine. Just let me carve this little swastika in your forehead there. Brad Pitt doing a really bad Appalachian accent. Um,
yeah. I mean,
that's
that's
that really
NASA. right? Like all
Yeah,
of
NASA,
NASA.
exactly. Yeah, von Braun. I'm Werner von Braun. I love Disney and NASA. It's fun times. Don't pay attention to the fact that I did the V2 rockets for the Nazis too, and you guys almost lost the war. It's like, it's like, dude, I don't trust you with a 10-foot pole, and it's. But it wasn't just Werner von Braun. I mean, it was some of the worst. Oh, what was his name? Operation Paperclip Nazi face scar guy. I feel like Google really works these days. He had a dueling scar. I cannot remember what his name was, but you can see him sitting in, pictures like this, where he's like next to the president. I think he's at JF. I think that's it. He's at JFK's inauguration, and it's a guy who looks like this. He's a former Nazi. He has a dueling scar from World War One, which is a whole thing you can go in on. But he was like Hitler's top weapons advisor or something, and he became such top brass that he's at JFK's, inauguration or something. All of that talk about Operation Paperclip and Nazi German blonde hair, blue-eyed German Nazis, not Semitic Jews with big noses and brown curly hair, infiltrating the most important institutions in America. I mean, hello? Do you guys know who Bayer is? Like, they bought Monsanto. They were a German company that, due to, I believe, the Treaty of Versailles or the whatever one came after, maybe it was Nantes, the one that came after World War One, they had to divest their company into America, like other country, like England, France, and they had to get rid of all their technology, all of their patents. They lost all their money, and all that got reshuffled into what is now American. Monsanto. They are Monsanto. It's Bayer Monsanto. There was a merger
Mm,
like 3, 4, 6 years ago. They're the same people. Nazis. They're
yeah.
Nazis.
Yeah,
They're
but
not
also
Jews.
but you also have to think like the Nazis and the Jews are a distraction. Like they're not the ones really running. Like I think that they're the it's like the right versus left, like wings of the same bird sort of
I
situation
think
where
I think the
they're
Germans, though. I mean, like here, what's their freaking name? Elizabeth too.
I don't know. I just can't. I still think like the Swissies are the ones that really run shit. They're neutral. They
Well, they're
stay out of
German too.
everything. Oh, they're German too.
They're German too. What was her? But she had a real name. I forget what their real family name was because I'm just stupid when it comes to this stuff. But it's like Saxburg Gotha. That's what they. I forget what their new. What is the royal family's last name? Does anybody freaking know?
Elizabeth Alexandria.
No, 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 no. I really do forget. It's just like a total blank right now what the royal family's last name is. I don't know why I'm like
I don't know if I ever
picking
knew
out on
them.
them.
I'm terrible with names.
Well, but
Charles.
after World War One, due to the or maybe it was right before, but due to the Germans not being quite as popular anymore. God, what's their real name? Um,
Wait, but Germany, like, is part of the United Nations, right? So, like, this just remind. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like,
no, you're
back
good.
to just the whole like the United Nations, like anybody that's under the UN, like they all fight and play fight with each other and for the media, and then behind closed doors, they're like really partying with each other at all the like events and holidays and shit like that. Like, what are the countries that aren't part of the UN? Those are the ones that are probably like I don't think there's very many of them left. I think
To some
most
degree, yeah, I don't know if there is any of them left.
I
Like
think there's like a few. I think at
it's
the
mostly
same
like things like Kosovo that are they're like political principalities that haven't been officially recognized by the UN because they don't
I
meet
wanna
certain criteria.
I wanna say that like the same four countries that didn't do go along with the COVID shit, like those I know those presidents all happened to mysteriously die or whatever. Um I want to say those are the countries that also aren't part of the UN. Like I know it's a small handful, like it's not that many. Um, but yeah, sorry.
Do these
So
people not have last names? They do, he does not have a last name.
his Henry Charles
Henry Charles David. Blah, 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 My name's Ray Fiennes. You
Very
don't
good.
pronounce it like Ralph. It's Rafe. Why? Why is the L's at Windsor? Oh my God. I don't know why I could not think of that for the life of me. Mountbatten, Windsor. But they changed their name from Saxburg, or yeah, I think Saxburg Gotha, right?
Mm.
Very, very German, because all of the royals around Europe actually all come from the same German family. Why did they change their name from German? Because the Germans weren't popular anymore, so they changed their names. It's like,
They had to make the bad guy. They had to have the villain, you know. They got every story's got to have the bad guy and the good guy, the left and the right, the bullshit that everyone pays attention to and makes movies about when like the real story, the real people behind the curtains, like we'll never know their names, we'll never know who they are, what country they're from, probably part of some Jesuit order from Switzerland, is my theory.
well, and I agree with you. Like, the royals and the aristocracy that are established are, for the most part, figureheads, although I don't think figureheads is entirely true because these people are Luciferians. They do know what they're doing. But are they the top, 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 top? No, I don't think so. I mean, you have the 13 Illuminati families.
Who was it that in that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just
You're
remember
good.
seeing the picture. It reminded me of Prince Charles, I think. Like the Rothschild guy was like like not shaking his hand, but was like basically belittling the king, like not the king, but well, I guess he would be now, right? King Charles.
I don't know.
Um there's look up
Somebody snubbed him?
Rothschild. Yeah, like it was like I don't remember what exactly he was doing in the picture, but it looked like a sign of disrespect in the picture. Like basically the Rothschild was like look up Rothschild and King
Yes. Something like
and
that. I was like, hey,
yes, yes, he's poking him. That's what it was. There we go.
look, he does not look happy though.
Right? And that's a
I don't
Rothschild, right? Yeah.
I don't disagree that the Rothschilds are near the top. I don't
Yeah.
think they're the top that
No, I
everybody. I
don't
don't
think they're
think
the top
they're
top
the
either.
capstone. I don't think they're the Ben stone on
Yeah.
top of the pyramid. I don't
Yeah.
think they're Osiris's penis.
No, I don't
However,
think so. But that's a
they're
funny
pretty
picture, right?
close. There's the Orsini family, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Who
Orsini.
everybody says is the Rothschilds. Um, I mean, the Rothschilds didn't come into prominence until the Napoleonic Wars. Nathan Rothschild, this one right here, and his so Nathan Rothschild leveraged the English market, the London market, against Napoleon. And I think what happened was he had an inside chain of messengers that the minute Napoleon fell at Waterloo, he got the info and he shorted whatever version of the market. I mean, I'm definitely bastardizing this, but he shorted the market, and then that's when they became the owners of the treasury of. They had the most money in the world,
Yeah.
right? They obviously had money before that to invest in. A lot of people say that's the Orsinis, they were basically a Vatican family in the Renaissance.
There
And
was like,
you're
wasn't there like nine or 13 maybe of the
13 what?
like Orsini was just one of them. There was of the families, the royal families. Like Orsini was one. There's a whole list of them. I forget. I want to say, um, I'm so bad with names. It's like awful, but I
Oh
know.
yeah, I don't know. No, and I mean it's the royal houses of Europe. They all do come from very similar people, and if they aren't just you know if they aren't just aristocracy on their own, like Meghan Markle, I guarantee you, if somebody looked into Meghan Markle, they'd be able to prove that she's really not that far related from aristocracy. They all intermarry, and they're still doing it to this day. You've got the House of Hanover, the Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. That's who I just couldn't remember their full name. I don't know most of the other than Bourbon. I don't know most of these people because I don't really give a shit about royal families, but they all come from the same people. Obviously, I mean, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but I remember back in the days of Top Doc, or free documentaries or top documentary. That you remember that website where you used to be able
No.
to go and like watch free documentaries online, stuff like Food Inc. It would definitely was like 2011. Um, there was a there was a there was a conspiracy documentary that broke down how all of the Illuminati families could be traced back to Battle of Hastings in 1066, and people who were granted uh I think it was King William or whatever, William the Conqueror, I believe is his name. I'm so sorry, people who are history. Yeah, William, Duke of Normandy. Uh, the Norman French army. Uh, who are the belligerents? The Duchy of Normandy. So that's William and the Kingdom of England. So William of Normandy invaded England, and basically the Bushes and the Cheneys. That's how old this documentary was. Could all be traced back to either William of Normandy or the other commanders and leaders from this battle. So, according to this conspiracy documentary, they could trace back the Illuminati all the way back to the quote unquote Illuminati, all the way back to the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and that most of our aristocracy can be traced back to then. This is what I was saying earlier. Like, I bet you that Pallas Athena statue is in England because 1066 is right before the First Crusades, right before all these blokes from England and Normandy, France, and my ancestors are Templars from that region as well, sailed to Jerusalem,
Oh, you got
killed.
Templar family members?
Yeah, I got Templar. Well, it's old. I mean, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah, you
my
remember you said that last time. I forgot.
yeah, it's way old. My great grandfather was a Freemason in Gary, Indiana. I was just talking about this with somebody today. Like, I didn't even think about it. My dad isn't the firstborn son in his family. My grandmother had a stillborn
Oh,
shortly before him. No, that's the Freemason curse. It's the plague of the
what?
firstborn. It's the plague of the firstborn son. And
Wow.
I broke the chain. That's why I'm here. That's why I almost like was an MK Ultra victim. If I hadn't have found Jesus and broken the chain and estranged myself from the family curses, because the Lord visits curses and sins unto the seventh generation. That's Old Testament for you. Uh, no, I mean, I broke out of that, and I was going into it with somebody today, and I remembered that my dad had a brother who was a stillborn, and it kind of just started clicking, like, oh shit, that's that Freemason curse. It could have happened to
Yeah.
me. I mean, and in a way, I am a spiritual plague of the firstborn son because I am estranged from my family, and I'm sure it's caused them much hardship. But they probably shouldn't have drugged me up on all sorts of MK Ultra drugs when I was a kid. Um, and I believe I have broken that chain and that family curse by separating myself in pursuit of God and righteousness. And I'm not calling myself a righteous man by any extent of it, but I do believe that there are spiritual curses that families inherit. And I know anybody listening who I've talked to about Freemasons and their family knows exactly what I'm talking about. And God, like you were saying, we were talking earlier about magic and hexes and stuff. God is more powerful than Freemason magic. He's more powerful than Templar magic. He's more powerful than Satanist Luciferian magic. He is. He's over it all. But that stuff stays in the blood and it gets passed down through the generations. And unless somebody atones, I mean, Jesus and God is the great atonement. Um, it won't be fixed. It won't be corrected. So if you're suffering family curses and generational curses, I suggest you start praying because there is hope. You can break out of it, but it's really hard to talk to people about spiritual curses and spiritual sicknesses because everybody gets so fucking touchy. And honestly, I mean, it's hard not to sound like a fraud. I feel like I have been gifted spiritual discernment when it comes to people in some degree. I'm no psychic, I'm no prophet by any means, but I if you learn how to listen to people and you learn what to listen for, you can tell what's going on the spiritual level in people's families and in people's lives. It's everybody's like, why is this happening to me? Why this? Why that? Why this? There's always a reason. There's a Bible verse. It might be Proverbs, it might be Ecclesiastes. The causeless curse does not come. That nothing happens in a vacuum. If you have something bad happening, I'm not trying to say you got cancer because you're a shitty person, but I am saying that it nothing happens on accident. Nothing happens in a vacuum. You know what I mean? And it's up to all of us individually to gain an understanding of that and really look at ourselves and really be truthful with ourselves and God about, oh yeah, I've got a secret sin that I've been indulging in for years. And yeah, that might actually be why I now have, this weird congenital disease that nobody's ever heard of. You know what I mean? Like in New Mexico, there is met a girl. There's 13 families in New Mexico. It's always 13 families. The Candelarias. You'll see that name everywhere in New Mexico. They have a very specific disease in that family that is only located in northern New Mexico that gives children born, men children born of all things, a 50% chance of developing non-operable brain cancer.
Really?
It's an disease. It's an incest disease. These people were isolated. And this is one of the most isolated places in the country, and these people they came over with Cortez. 400, 500 years ago. They've never left. And honestly, I don't feel like New Mexico really opened up to new genes coming in until after the Civil War. So that's 300 years of just the same people intermixing with one another, especially if they're racist and they don't want to mix with the local natives, which there is that. And our governor is one of those families, the Luhans. Um, this is real. It's reality. And if people can't face that, I mean, it's fine, but don't sit here and blame God for all your problems, because at the end of the day, it's usually rooted in something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a trip.
It's a tough one. I'm not trying to say again, like, oh, you got cancer because but
Because your because your cousin, made love to your uncle or something like that.
no,
However
incest in
many
New
years.
Mexico, it's worse than West Virginia. I know we all have our stereotypes, but it's real bad here. The bloodlines, the gene pool's really it needs some new blood. Is all I'm saying.
Oh man, that's a trip. Yeah, we could do a whole like hour just on you or multiple hours just on you going in on New Mexico conspiracies and all that. I want to go into that with all the stuff that you know about with the, Epstein's land there and all that
Oh
stuff that you
man, I've been out to Zorro Ranch, I don't know, 4 or 5 times now. It honestly looks like a movie set. Like, it doesn't feel real when you go. It's huge. He has his own village. It's behind a gate that our state is paying with tax dollars to keep under surveillance 24 hours a day.
it has its own
So
airstrip and everything too,
yeah, it
right?
has an airstrip. There's tunnels, so you can tell. There's certain vents to look for to know if there's tunnels. It's up on a thing. The most interesting thing about that area that most people don't know is it's an ancient Native American highway. And all the natives are long gone. It was the Galisteo Pueblo. You can look it up. It's very small, very irrelevant to today. They got mixed in with, well, they went down that highway down the way to San Felipe. Um, but oh, let me show you. Let me see if I can find it.
Or maybe we should save this for next time because I gotta make
Oh
some
yeah, yeah.
food for my little one and do adult
Just want to see if
things.
I can show you these walls because you're talking about giants.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
there's this. Oh, you know what? I have it on my Instagram. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Be back here because I haven't been there in a long time. This is the. We'll wrap up and end on this though. You're right. No, Epstein Ranch. Go to my profile. I've got tons of highlights, but I definitely have one on Epstein Ranch. Oh, you're gonna be like that, internet? You gonna be like that? Um, there's these crazy ass walls. I got a reel. Oh, now you're gonna be like that? Okay. You see what it's doing to me? There we go. Okay. We got it. We got it. We're going. It's way back here. Way down. I didn't used to have any reels, and then I started that attempt at a podcast.
No, that was
Yeah.
great. I loved it. All your little shorts that were condensed with so much info.
See these
Oh,
walls?
oh
You see
wow.
that? That they stretch for miles, right?
It's like Rockwall in Texas. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and they look, it's like going along this ridge like that, and then right across the way is Epstein's mansion. Like
Wow.
it's alley, and he built it up on this mesa. That right across from it is this ancient megalithic structure that no archaeologist will ever touch because they would never call it walls. But if you are familiar with some Navajo um, teachings, that they suggest that giants did build walls, and we see them as structures today, but it was to keep certain monsters out. It's a whole long mythology thing that I would only really ruin. But
I
yes,
want to hear more about it though. Maybe next time. Like what kind of monsters? Like dragons and stuff? Because they could just fly over that shit
yeah,
quick.
dinosaurs. Some of the
Oh,
most dinosaurs in America, or well, yeah, I mean, I say dinosaurs, but some of the most dinosaurs in America are right here in New Mexico.
crazy.
Um, I, yeah, you can. It used to be not that long ago. You could go out into the desert and just find skeletons everywhere. Still can in
Really?
some areas, but super not kosher, and I definitely don't know where those places are. Yeah,
Word.
some weird stuff. I mean, let's Google just real quick, give you a sense of these areas. You don't know where I am. Where are we? Okay, there's Navajo Nation. So right about here, well, it's actually more down here, Pueblo Pintado. Right about here. What do you notice about the land? Like
Um,
this whole area, just upon first look.
it's
I
a
mean,
dragon. And just
here's the rest. Here's like southern New Mexico, tons of greenery. I know people don't think it's green here, but it's actually quite lovely. But then you just look at this section of the map. Right here is where Chaco Canyon is, which was the ancient capital of the Anasazi uh, peoples. People call them, I forget what they call them, some kind of ancestral Puebloans. They weren't, I assert they were not Puebloan. There's a whole political thing you can get into with that. But basically, the extent of their territory was what I'm showing, like a circle. But do you see how just the center of this circle I'm making with my mouse is just desolation?
yeah, and it looks kind of like it comes up in the middle, like a pyramid or something.
Well, no, it's a canyon, but it's
Oh,
called
maybe
Chaco
it goes
Canyon.
down.
They have astrological astronomical alignments at Chaco Canyon. We can go into this next time. The when he, I was really good friends with a Navajo medicine man at my last job, and the way he would describe the Anasazi, and you can look this up, right around 1350, you've got Native American, like a severe reduction in Native American population in the Americas, right? Up by you, over in this area with the Great Lakes and the Serpent Mound and stuff,
Hmm.
all disappeared. Down here with the Mississippi mud mounds and the mound builders up by St. Louis and down in Alabama, all disappeared. 1350, all simultaneously, all across the country. I don't know what happened. The Americans weren't here yet. I mean, the white people weren't here yet. Um, and then you just have like this crater of desolation surrounding the extent of the Anasazi. Now, the Anasazi, according to the Navajo, and they were enemies, so a lot of people don't in archaeology don't take this seriously. That they were evil. They were witches. They were sorcerers, and I've heard some of the stuff they would do. And honestly, they're very scary. And there's an Anasazi spirit out here, and like demons, and it's also very creepy. There's some creepy shit out in New Mexico. Um, I'm not trying to say any of this to be offensive. I'm just trying to relay a perspective.
You heard,
And
right? Said what you heard,
yeah, I
like, from your
heard,
guy.
and I believe some of this because I trust the guy who told me, and I've gone out and investigated it. My wife had a psychic attack up here in Aztec at a ruins, in Anasazi ruins. She had a full on psychic attack. We had to leave. She didn't know
Wow.
what it was. She was just like, I am just overwhelmed right now. I've crawled in some ruins that are off map, and I was plagued with some spirits at night for a while. They went away, but don't fuck around. Don't fuck around and find out in New Mexico. That's the rule of the desert. But yeah, I mean, this idea that they disappeared overnight, along with a whole bunch of other people across the country, across the land, and you've just got this desolation. I think there's something happened. You know what I mean? Like Sodom and Gomorrah, Atlantis level, and
Crazy.
that's as good of a place to leave it, I guess, for today.
I want to hear more about it. I know what you mean. Like I've heard a lot of crazy stories growing up in Phoenix and in northern Arizona and stuff of like what did they call them? Like white walkers or something and like
Yep.
um
Phoenix, Arizona, huh?
yeah. And like even I had a friend that whose grandma had this really old like historic house in like downtown Phoenix and that he like grew up in when he was little and he was him and his cousin were both telling me at the same time like that's why I believe the story because they both like were like backing each other up and like I don't know I could just tell that they weren't bullshitting me but there was some huge hole like under the house where they would like throw stuff. Like as kids, they would like throw stuff down this hole and you could hear it like going for like who knows how long
Yeah.
yeah and like basically right like in the middle of the night one night I guess a bunch of marbles started like spinning on the floor in the house like over where that hole was or whatever and I don't know. He just said that there was always weird shit that happened at that house, and he was like, always freaked out. And then when they were kids, they were always like, always weird shit was happening there. And I don't know. There's definitely I've heard some crazy stories for sure from the desert out there. I mean, I'm sure everywhere has them. I didn't grow up out here, so I don't know what the
This
stories are
this
out
place
here really.
ain't like the rest of the United States. This one state, New Mexico's where the government hides their secrets. They built the atom bomb here.
Yeah,
Epstein came here.
yeah,
The Roswell's here. The
yeah.
UFOs, that's all here.
Right.
It's for
There's
a reason,
something.
folks.
Y- Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something for sure,
There's
definitely.
secrets under these sands, and
Maybe maybe the. Oh,
I
sorry.
think it goes back to yeah. Were you about to suggest the Anasazi built an atom bomb?
Maybe no, I was gonna say like maybe that's what the next topic should be the next time we talk is going in on some history lessons on like all of this stuff with New Mexico and
Oh yeah.
um I actually have a friend that's Navajo. Maybe I'll see if he wants to come on and chat with you because he's got
Yeah,
a
like I'm
lot
only
of.
gonna piss people off.
No, he's totally cool. He's chill. I used to play pool with him. He actually gifted me a pool cue when I left Utah. I never had one before, so that was nice of him. Um, but yeah, we should definitely go in on this topic more. I'm totally interested and did you finish all of what you wanted to talk about with or is it just never ending
It's
with the
never ending. Please tune in again. We will do a part 3 of Infinity, and I will just talk about Meteorite Cult all day. As you can see, it just gets into so many things, and I know I'm all discombobulated, especially since I didn't even make any notes for this today, but
It's all
I
good. Off the
it
cuff is cool. I don't care. However
it's
you feel
just
comfortable.
this is the mystery of life. Like, whatever is going on with all of this stuff, I mean, we what do we touch on? Freemasons, Frankenstein, Washington being bloodlet, phoenixes, the pyramids, elephant stomach hot air balloons, the Anasazi, Epstein. It's all connected. It's all one holistic universe that can't, whether you believe it's flat Earth underneath a dome, whether you believe it's concave Earth and we're on the inside, or whether or not you even believe the universe is a quadrillion parsecs across. Like it's all holistic, self-contained, and harmonious. There is no separation.
Word. Well, I definitely agree with that. I think that there's all of these things interconnect with each other. So I think it's all very interesting, and I appreciate you coming on and entertaining us. And yeah, I guess we'll end this, and you guys all have a good evening. Toodles.
See ya.